Welcome to Kentucky, a state very familiar with fast horses, but today a different kind of horsepower. 43 steel thoroughbreds and the men and women who control them. Veteran jockeys like defending series champ and your points leader Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who rolls off second today, and Elliott Sadler, who controlled the point standings for the majority of the season, but now finds himself in second. They'll mix it up with a group of rookies with names like Ryan Blaney, the 18-year-old just 1 week removed from his first truck win, and Austin Dillon, who is the most recent Kentucky winner and will start from the pole position for the second time this season here at Kentucky. The roar of the engine, the cadence of the stock car, the nationwide series at the Kentucky Speedway, where it's all about horsepower.
No matter where NASCAR races, we like to throw around the word horsepower. Here in Kentucky, that takes on a whole new meaning. Where down the stretch they come, over and over again, at 190 miles per hour. Hey, why would you settle for 1 horsepower when you can have 700?
6 times in 2012, the Nationwide Series has raced alone, without the distraction of the Sprint Cup event. We call them standalones. And today, for the final time this season, the Nationwide Series race is the only show in town. Hi everyone, I'm Shannon Spake. Welcome to NASCAR Countdown. The Nationwide Series, we don't have a chase for the championship and we don't have a standard postseason, but the championship battle is still very exciting. And with 7 races remaining, 4 drivers are still very much in the hunt. Now last week, the championship standings were rattled just a little bit. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. came into the race second in the points. He had a fast car but had some trouble on pit road. He stalled it. He was able to get back out onto the track, kept digging, was able to get his car back up to the front, eventually past Kyle Busch, who led 50 laps at the race, and Stenhouse ultimately led 47 of his own on his way to his 5th win of the season. Elliott Sadler finished 8th. It was Stenhouse Jr.'s 4th victory on the mile-and-a-half tracks in 2012. And with that win, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. put Elliott Sadler in his rearview mirror. Sadler, who led the standings for most of the season, now trails by 9 points. Sam Hornish Jr., he has some work to do as he's 57 back. And don't look now, because the defending winner of this race, Austin Dillon, is just 34 points back. So let's chat with the guys out front, starting with your points leader, who's standing by with Jim Noble.
Well, let's see, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., you are the front runner now, of course. Is it a different feeling racing with the points lead than the feeling you've had the past couple of weeks?
No, not at all. I think we're going to try to stick to the same game plan that we've been doing the last couple of weeks. It's got us back to the points lead. I think our last 4 weeks have been really, really strong, and if we can continue that, that would be great for us. But, you know, it's going to be tough. That 2 cars fast, the 3 cars fast this weekend. We just got to make sure we, you know, worry about our race car. Our Ford EcoBoost Mustang was fast in practice, qualified second, and it should be a good day for us.
A lot of fun to watch you and Elliott Sadler the past few weeks. There's been a little contact out there. How would you characterize the racing relationship between you and Elliott right now?
Very respectable. I feel like I've learned a lot from Elliott running for the championship last year. We do a lot of give and take. You know, obviously I got into him at Bristol, and he got a little loose under us and got into us at Richmond. And, you know, it's just hard short track racing. But last week, Chicago, we did a lot of give and take and ended up, you know, taking the win for us. So, you know, that was really cool. But, you know, we're going to try to get a win this weekend for our jackman, Jeremy Neely, that came into the box sideways last time we were here, and he tore his ACL because of it. So hopefully we can get a win for him today.
Good luck today.
Thank you.
All right, it's career start number 100 for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the Nationwide Series. He says he feels old. Shannon, I feel old.
The championship lead, Jim, speaking of old, well, I feel pretty old too, but the championship lead has gone back and forth between Elliott Sadler and Ricky Stenhouse Jr., but you've got the veteran experience. How do you think that will help you in this championship battle?
Well, I think we learned a lot about racing for the championship last year, and, you know, we know what we need to do these last 7 races. You know, we gave up a few points last week at Chicago, but we had a tire come apart on us, and that's just racing circumstances, and we got to overcome that and be better this weekend in Kentucky. But it's going to be a hard-fought battle, we think, all the way to the end, but the best way to make up points is try to win races. I mean, that's why we're here.
From a performance standpoint, how do you feel like you match up with the 6 this weekend?
We've had a long weekend so far with the One Main Financial car, but I'm very proud of my guys. We've made a lot of changes. Anything that had a nut and a bolt through it this morning, we've changed it for today's race. So I trust in Luke. They made some good decisions. We got some good notes, and we got a couple pit stops to work on it. We know we got a competition caution coming to lap 30, so we'll dial in and work on it all day long and see where we end up. But proud of my hard work. My guys are putting in great pit stops. And we just got to go out there and put it all together.
Good luck this afternoon.
Thanks a lot.
Elliott Sadler has led more races this year than anybody else, looking to put that car back up front this afternoon, Shannon.
Thanks, Mike. News out of Junior Motorsports this week has Danica Patrick working with the new crew chief here this weekend. On Monday, the organization announced that Tony Eury Jr. was no longer with the company. Ryan Pemberton is the interim crew chief. And on Friday in New Hampshire, team owner Dale Jr. was asked about the shakeup.
It has been difficult to see these changes, and it was not easy at all to sever the working relationship with Pops nor Tony Jr. But you know, we're a company that wants to improve over what we've been doing, and we're making some changes to see if we can make that happen.
Well, an eventful week to be sure at Junior Motorsports. Danica Patrick, simply put, what impact will this crew chief change have on you today?
You know, we were definitely going over in the truck the kind of things that I like to hear and what parts of the track I want to hear it on and what I need coming into the pits and things like that. So really it's just a familiarization of each other, and we'll go from there.
You finished 12th here in June when it was hotter than the surface of the sun, and now it's 30, 35 degrees cooler. What impact will that play today?
Feels like 130 degrees cooler. It was like, I think I called it inhumane how hot it was to make us go out there. But it's definitely cooler. We're running a lot faster, and I think what's going to be interesting today is whether or not if the cars are going to go loose or if they're going to be very similar to what they were in practice. So I don't know. I think we kind of came at it with a little bit of tightening up just to be safe. But you know, we have that competition yellow at lap 30 from the rain last night, which I didn't even notice. But we'll go from there, and hopefully we can have a good day with the GoDaddy car and you know, get a good result tonight.
All right. Thanks for your time and good luck.
Thanks.
Danica Patrick with new crew chief Ryan Pemberton will start 11th. Shannon?
Thanks, Jim. Okay, so from the Junior Motorsports change to the points battle, there's a lot to talk about coming into this race, and I think I know two guys who probably have some opinions on both of those topics. The guys who will call the race, Ricky Craven and Marty Reed.
Thank you, Shannon. Hello again, everybody. Let's stay on the topic of Ryan Pemberton. You have worked with him. He's been your crew chief. How's this going to affect Danica Patrick?
It's going to have a positive effect, Marty. I have worked with Ryan. He's very good with drivers and teams in terms of team morale. He can rally the troops. I think that Danica needs a little inspiration. I think she needs some encouragement. Ryan will give her that. No question in my mind that Tony Eury Jr. was exactly what she needed early in her career. But if you look from 2011 to 2012, she has plateaued. The numbers have sort of flattened out. There needs to be a spark within that 7 camp. I think that Ryan can come and deliver that.
Let's talk more about Ricky Stenhouse Jr. because he is the new points leader, regaining the lead last week at Chicagoland. He is hot.
Yeah, he is as good as anything in the Nationwide Series right now, Marty. If you look at the numbers, first, second, first in the last 3 races. By comparison, Elliott Sadler, 4th, 12th, 8th. Not bad, but just not in the same league as Ricky Stenhouse. Listen, he is on the edge, and I love to watch him drive because he squeezes that extra 2 or 3% out of the race car that other drivers can't seem to find. It all went wrong at Dover. He's leading the race. He steps over that line, wrecks, but he's regained his confidence. In Atlanta, he outduels Kevin Harvick late in the race to steal the win away from a driver that's got a lot more experience and seemed to have a better car, at least for most of the race in Atlanta. And then last week, sort of a replay. He came at Kyle Busch late after Kyle thought he was in his comfort zone, had a great car, he said, but here comes Ricky Stenhouse on the outside, sails on by, gets another win against a Sprint Cup Series driver. He is in a league by himself right now.
All right, let's also talk about the 2-car. There are people out there that feel like Elliott Sadler is a man on an island because he's leaving Richard Childress Racing at the end of the year. And let's go back to Chicago because there was some comments on the radio from Danny Stockman, but let's set it up for you. Notice the 3 and the 18 are running side by side. The 2 had a choice. He chose to help the 18, and that's what got Stockman up on the tire.
Don't help him at all if he ain't going to help push us down the front stretch. You do not help that 2-car today.
Now, since then, he has apologized to everybody on the team, told me this week, he said, yeah, I shouldn't have said it, but, man, I just am passionate about my team. What do you think?
I disagree. I think you should apologize for apologizing. I loved it. Listen, it's authentic. What you heard from Danny was a driver coaching his young driver and saying, look, we're taking no prisoners. You're as good as anybody out there, and do no favors for anybody, including your teammate. Now, listen, I don't think that Elliott was choosing favorites either. I think that Elliott was doing his job. He's going after a championship. It's the month of September. There's no allegiance to anybody, even if the cars and teams are under the same roof.
Shannon, I'll keep working on it to try to get Ricky to have a little more opinion, okay?
Yeah, I know Ricky pretty well. He's got a lot of opinions. Still to come on NASCAR Countdown. How does the Nationwide Series prepare young drivers to take the step to the Cup Series? Well, we'll hear from some of the drivers who have navigated through the ranks. It's next on NASCAR Countdown.
NASCAR Nationwide Series Countdown is brought to you by Nationwide Insurance. Nationwide is on your side.
No matter how big a Sprint Cup star becomes, we all know the road he or she took to get there. So do they. It's been that way since NASCAR hit the beach. Whether they called it the Sportsman's Division, Busch Series, or Nationwide Series, it's always been the ultimate proving ground. A stock car springboard to greatness.
Now, for football players and for race car drivers, the ultimate goal is to compete on Sundays. But before you can do that, you have to prove yourself on Saturday. And in NASCAR, that happens right here in the Nationwide Series.
The Nationwide Series, you know, it's such a crucial role to the sport of NASCAR. You know, it's a stepping stone.
Clint Boyer is making short work of these guys. Clint Boyer wins the NASCAR Nationwide Series championship.
Running for a nationwide championship is about the same as running for a cup championship from a pressure standpoint.
The pressure to win a championship is very, very high. Fighting for a championship and having to be consistent every single week teaches you that every race you have to be on your game.
Here comes Superman Greg Biffle. Look at Biffle. He's the champ.
You get to kind of put yourself up against some of the Cup guys on a week-to-week basis to really measure where you are.
Well, I like this Harvick. I really like this kid. Kevin Harvick, 2001 champion.
You can't get any better experience when you're competing against guys like that in a series.
They really show you what you need to do to be prepared for the Cup Series once you get there.
There's our 2004 champion, Mark Truex Jr. Yeah, you can be the greatest. You can be the best. You can be the Here's a champion, Dale Earnhardt Jr. You can be the greatest. You can be the best. Brad Keselowski, the 2010 champion. Hey.
After winning the Nationwide Series championship last year, I think it's an unsuccessful season for us if we don't win the championship.
Stenhouse with a checkered flag first.
The Nationwide Series is a great kind of stepping stone for the Cup Series. Definitely beneficial to my career and what I've been able to learn in that series, and I'll be able to take a lot of things and go to the Cup level next year with everything that I've learned.
I won the Truck Series championship last year. To go back-to-back, it'd be the first person who'd done it.
Austin Dillon is a nationwide winner.
Our first year out, having a chance to go into Homestead and win a championship, it's been great. I love running in the Nationwide Series.
I've sat at home on many nights wondering what it would make me feel if we were able to win the Nationwide Championship.
Elliott Sadler flames the checkered flag.
If I could win the Nationwide Championship, it'd be a little vindication. It would maybe take a little bit of the chip off my shoulder that I have there right now. But it'd be the coolest thing to be able to share that with Richard Childress and Kevin and Delana Harvick and people that have given me a chance and really resurrected my career.
The Nationwide Series is kind of that last step that you take to say, okay, I can do this. It's just a matter of putting it all together.
Go out and win races and win championships there. This is the biggest accomplishment of my career so far.
And have your name behind a championship was big.
Winning the championship was a dream come true for me.
Winning 2 championships in the Nationwide Series really propelled me into the Cup Series with a lot of high expectations.
What a moment for the Earnhardt family.
Is that your son or is that your driver?
That's the son. He's an awesome little driver, too.
And just take a look at the past Nationwide champions who have a shot to win this year's Sprint Cup title. 6 of the 12 chasers have at least one Nationwide championship. Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. have multiple championships in the Nationwide Series. And once dominated by Cup drivers, it truly has become the feeder series it was intended to be. Some of the guys in the field here today who have Cup potential, you're looking at one right there, 19-year-old Alex Bowman. He's making just his second start in the Nationwide Series. He already has 5 ARCA wins on his resume. Then there's the 18-year-old Ryan Blaney. He has a long career ahead of him. He won the truck race last week, and he is looking for a strong run here today. Points leader Ricky Stenhouse Jr., you heard him talk in that piece. He has already announced his move to Cup next season. He'll be in the 17 for Roush Fenway Racing. He starts on the front row here today, looking to make it back-to-back wins. And then there is the other guy, the one who will start on the pole position here, Austin Dillon with the cowboy hat, grandson of Richard Childress. Now, back in June, right here at the Kentucky Speedway, the temperatures were hot, and so was that 3 car of Austin Dillon. He started on the pole, same position he will lead the field to green from today, and the word was domination. He led 192 laps on his way to his very first win in the Nationwide Series. Now, yesterday was team owner and grandfather Richard Childress's birthday. I am sure that a great present would be to watch that 3 do some burnouts and to be able to make his way to victory lane with his grandson. Standing by with Dillon is Jim Noble.
Well, I'll tell you what, around the garage, the smart money says the number 3 car is going to be hard to beat. You know, Austin Dillon, you won here in June. How on track are you to completing a Kentucky sweep?
I think we've definitely got the car to do it, and it's the same one we took here last race here. So I'm looking forward to really doing a lot for Advocare right here in the next couple of laps and put them out front and try and win this race.
You know the numbers. You have a 34-point deficit with 7 races to go. Is it time to start taking some chances, being aggressive on the track, strategy, or are you not at that point yet?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it's that point. We got to go out and win races, and we need to start here at Kentucky today. I want to thank Nationwide Insurance and Tagwear Eyewear for supporting us. And this is it's a beautiful day out here in Kentucky. The fans are here, so I'm looking forward to a fun run.
Good luck today.
Thank you.
He's completed every lap but one this year. The last time somebody did that in the Nationwide Series, Brad Keselowski won the championship, Shannon.
That's a pretty good stat there, Jim. Now, I mentioned Ryan Blaney a few minutes ago. Blaney, no doubt a driver we'll be talking about for a very long time. 1 week ago, at just 18 years and 8 months old, Blaney, a third-generation driver, became the youngest winner in the history of the Truck Series. It was just his 3rd truck start. Blaney called the win unbelievable and said he hopes to get a few more. I'm sure that will be happening as he has a long career ahead of him. Now, Blaney's win impressed many in the NASCAR garage who took to Twitter. Mark Martin said this: "Congratulations, young man. You were spectacular." Ryan Truex, "Congrats on the win. I'm sure it's a fact that anyone named Ryan is awesome." I'm sure the next guy here, Darrell Wallace Jr., won't agree with that. He did say, "Booyah, hell of a job. I don't know if there's another competitor as proud of me as me out there." Now, Mike Massaro just 1 week removed from that impressive win. Ryan Blaney here tonight racing that 22 Penske car.
Suffice to say, Shannon, Ryan Blaney's gotten a lot of people's attention over the last few weeks and will continue to do so. You won the truck race a week ago. Yesterday, a little different story, finished 11th, but what can you take from that experience that might help you this afternoon?
Well, just, you know, obviously the trucks and Nationwide cars are different, but they have similar characteristics that you learn from racing and this racetrack, what it does, maybe when rubber gets put down. And I'm still learning these 1.5 mile tracks, so whatever race I can do, you know, if I can do a lot of racing on a 1.5 mile track, it just helps me out in learning what these things do on these big tracks. So racing the truck race definitely helped last night. Not the finish we wanted, but hopefully we can get a better finish today in our Discount Tire Dodge.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Hey, folks, if you've got a question for young Ryan Blaney, go on to ESPN.com. Type in key phrase in-race reporter. Ask your question. You might even see it on TV today.
Thanks, Mike. And fans at home, you can check out Race Buddy. It's enhanced coverage for select Nationwide Series races with more cameras than ever. All you have to do is log on to NASCARNationwideSeries.com/Race Buddy. We've got more on NASCAR Countdown coming up from Kentucky. The field is set. The drivers are ready. Austin Dillon leads the field to green. We'll be back. There are 7 races left in the Nationwide Series in 2012. 5 of them are on 1.5 mile tracks. The guys you want to watch: Austin Dillon, his average finish is 5.5. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has 4 wins. Also on the list, Justin Allgaier and Michael Annett. So let's talk to those guys, starting with Mike Massaro.
Shannon, since the last Kentucky race, one of the most consistent drivers in the Nationwide Series has been Michael Annett. In those 13 races, he's posted 9 top 10 finishes. Will that trend continue today?
I hope so. It's been another perfect Kentucky weekend for us. Unloaded really fast, qualified the best we have all year, and everything just feels really good. The weather's perfect. It's a national, thinking the truck drivers week, and obviously wouldn't be standing here if we didn't have all those professional truck drivers stopping that pilot flying J. So everything's going in the right direction. Hopefully get that first win for the RPM 43 team.
Michael Annett rolls off 5th this afternoon, his best qualifying effort of the year, Jim Noble.
Well, Mike, points not a huge concern for Justin Allgaier. I know that winning is. Describe your mentality here today.
Well, I think number one, like you said, we're far enough out in the points that mathematically we still have a shot at it, but it would take a lot of miracles to be able to get up to that spot. So, Jimmy Elledge and the whole Brent Racing team have just been working really hard on giving me great race cars. We've got a really, really good hot rod for today, and just go out there and do whatever we can to win the race, and whatever happens, happens.
All right, that's Justin Allgaier. He will start 10th, Shannon.
Thanks, Jim. We've got more from Kentucky coming up next. There's Ricky Stenhouse Jr. starting on the front row, second, looking to make it back-to-back wins in his 100th nationwide start. More from the Kentucky Speedway coming up next as we get you ready for Green Flag Racing with opening ceremonies.
Welcome back to Sparta, Kentucky Speedway, as we're getting ready for the opening ceremonies down trackside. But let's give you an idea exactly where Sparta, Kentucky is located as we take a look from high above. And if you go to the southwest, down to Louisville, it'll take you about an hour by car, about 61 miles. 101 miles to Indianapolis. And if you go to the northeast, just about 42 miles, you'll run into Cincinnati, Ohio. We've talked about a youth movement in the sport here at Kentucky Speedway, and it has been a tradition that they've had quite a few young winners at this racetrack. Take a look at the last 6 winners. The old man of the bunch is 27-year-old Brad Keselowski. Everybody else, as you can see, a couple of teenagers and in their early 20s. Will it be another young driver today that takes the checkered flag here at Kentucky Speedway? Of course, Austin Dillon would certainly like to do it. What he did back here in June, lead about all but 8 laps and win for the second time in a row. How about the 22 of Ryan Blaney, just 18 years old, making his 8th career nationwide start. And Drew Herring is back in the 18 ride for Joe Gibbs Racing. They're in the Owners' Championship hunt. He's 25 years old. This is his only scheduled run in that car this year. He wants to make it a good one. And how about the old Wiley veterans? There's Elliott Sadler. Of course, he would like to get back into the championship hunt with a victory here. Could also be Ricky Stenhouse Jr. or that man right there. That's Sam Hornish Jr. Well, we're getting the word. It's time to go trackside for the opening ceremonies.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your hats as the Kentucky National Guard presents our nation's colors. Remain standing as Pastor John Roberts of Raceway Ministries offers today's invocation.
Let's pray. Dear Lord, we just want to thank you for this beautiful afternoon you've given us to enjoy the Kentucky 300 NASCAR Nationwide Series race. We want to thank all our veterans and pray for our currently serving men and women in our armed forces. Father, we just want to pray for a safe race today, safety for the drivers, their crews, the fire safety team, the NASCAR officials. We pray this in Christ's name. Amen.
Here to perform our national anthem, please welcome recording artist and Kentucky native Mackenzie Morgan.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
So the opening ceremonies have concluded, and that means it's time for the boys and girls to climb in behind the wheel and get ready to go to work for 300 miles, 200 laps here at this mile-and-a-half oval at the Kentucky Speedway. And as we come topside, you know, the mile-and-a-halves are always referred to as the cookie-cutter racetracks. But all we have to do is go back and compare last week to this week, and we think we can disprove this to a degree, because Chicagoland has had 14 races in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. The pole sitter has won 0 times. Now here, the pole sitter in the last 5 events has won 4 of them, and this is the 13th race. What's the difference, Ricky Craven?
Well, the biggest difference is the lack of banking getting into turn 3. And Justin Allgaier told me earlier, of the Nationwide Series schedule tracks, this is the most difficult turn in the series, turn 3 at Kentucky. That lack of banking means it's difficult to navigate. Left side tires don't work as hard. And on top of that, Marty, this track's rough. We're riding along with Elliott Sadler here, roof cam. You get a great understanding of just how bumpy the racetrack is. And you're not going 100 miles an hour. I mean, you're going 170, 80, 190 miles an hour getting into these turns. Austin Dillon told me that there is a smooth place on the track, and we're riding with him now, and he says, I search for that smooth part of the racetrack in the turns. It's somewhere in the middle, and that's the key to my success here.
Well, and if you look at the numbers, qualifying is very important because 7 of the last 10 races have been won by the front row. That means good news for Austin Dillon and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. But then that puts the pressure on Elliott Sadler, who's starting 8th. How does he get back into this?
He's used to pressure, and I think he can handle it. But the key, in my opinion, Marty, is Luke Lambert, his crew chief. He has a willingness to gamble. If you think back to Phoenix earlier in the year, 2 tires, got him out front, they win the race. At Bristol, no tires, got him out front, he wins the race. You got to gamble, and Luke Lambert is willing to do that. That's what I expect to see today.
Well, we're about to find out. We'll fire the engines when we come back to Kentucky Speedway.
NASCAR Nationwide Series at Kentucky is brought to you by Nationwide Insurance. Nationwide is on your side.
There's the field of 43, still down on pit road as they're getting ready for the command of fire engines here at Kentucky Speedway. As we want to remind you to check out Race Buddy. It's our enhanced coverage for select Nationwide Series races. We've got more cameras than ever, and all you have to do is just log on to NASCARNationwideSeries.com/Race Buddy. All right, we've talked to Ricky Craven about the young kids that are coming up in this series, the fact that this track has always been kind to the young drivers. One of the things we haven't talked about is this is the first daytime race. All the other races here in the Nationwide Series have been at the night. How much of a change will that have?
Well, maybe you can see the bumps a little better. It's probably not that sensitive a racetrack, Marty. You do have to move around here to find speed. There are at least a couple lanes. So I think it's probably not a big change net, but I do expect it's going to be the same old thing. Out front is going to be the premier spot, clean air.
We've also had a tendency for fuel economy runs and late in the race. We'll see if that unfolds as well. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, anytime you're on a 1.5 mile track, and not a lot of cautions here typically, but we did see a lot last night in the truck race.
Well, get ready. We're about to find out. Let's go trackside to fire the engines.
And now, for the most famous words in motorsports, please welcome disabled Vietnam veteran Joe Sturm, accompanied by retired decorated Marine military working dog Sergeant Bako.
Drivers, start your engines.
Can we get rid of that?
Yellow at lap 30, no fuel before this.
Well, you just heard on the radio, competition yellow at lap number 30. We had a rainstorm come through here last night after the Camping World Truck Series race, and so they want to give everybody a chance to check everything. So we'll have that coming up. No fuel before lap 30. So join the conversation. You can follow us on Twitter at NASCAR ESPN during the race. So as the engines have fired, we'll get them out on the track, and when we come back, we'll go green. 7 races left to decide a championship. As you can see, the cars are rolling out here at Kentucky Speedway as we get ready for today's NASCAR Nationwide Series event. And there is the young Ryan Blaney at age 18 years old. Let's flash back just to last week at the Iowa Speedway. Now, there were 4 restarts in this race where Blaney in that number 29 was up front. 3 of them in the last 13 laps. He held off everybody every single time, picking up his first ever career Truck Series win. He is our in-race reporter, and let's talk to him.
Ryan Blaney, this is Ricky Craven in the ESPN booth. You got us?
Yes, sir. I got you.
Hey, Ryan, first off, congratulations on a great run last weekend in the Truck Series. What did that win do for you in terms of confidence, momentum coming into this weekend?
Yeah, well, thank you. It's definitely a confidence booster. Getting your first win, getting any win really, is a big confidence booster for the driver, for the team, and that just really rallies you for next weekend. So, it was pretty big. Very happy I could do it for Brad. He's really worked hard on that deal, and hopefully we can go out there today in the discount tire Dodge and get us another one.
Yeah, that sounds great. This week's mailbag question comes from Ben in St. Agatha, Maine, my home state. How has coming to Penske Racing helped you as a young driver?
Well, they definitely surround you with very good people. I have very good people around me at Penske Racing, and it's a top-notch organization. You can see it on their Cup side with Brad having a good shot to win the championship, and their Nationwide side. It's running great this year with Sam. They can touch for a championship, and with this team having 3 wins. So it definitely surrounds you with good people and good equipment, and hopefully we can perform here. So see what happens.
Ryan, thank you. Good luck. Now Marty's going to talk to your crew chief.
All right, 10-4. Thank you, guys.
Jeremy Bullins, Marty Reed. You copy?
Hey, Marty.
Jeremy, you've seen a lot of young drivers come up. Give us your evaluation of where Ryan stacks up in that group.
I think he's one of the best at his age that I've seen. He's got we talk about it a lot, the intangibles, the things that you just can't teach a guy to do. He's grown up in the sport. He's got a lot of experience in all different kinds of racing, and I think that's going to pay off for him. He already has a good feel for what to do, and it's just a matter of getting that experience.
All right, thanks, and good luck today.
Got it.
All right, let's take a look at all of our onboard cameras for you. We have one with Elliott Sadler with the Chevy onboard. Austin Dillon's carrying the Advocare onboard camera. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. with the Ford EcoBoost camera. Danica Patrick, as always, with GoDaddy.com. Sam Hornish Jr. with the Goodyear onboard camera. We've already talked with Ryan Blaney. He's got the Dodge onboard camera. Justin Allgaier with the Fresh from Florida Gulf Seafood camera. And Jeremy Clements in the number 51 with the Nationwide Insurance onboard cameras. All right, let's talk about our championship contenders. Let's get the latest from pit road. Shannon Spake, you're up.
Well, Marty, for Austin Dillon, it is all about the championship battle. He's currently 34 points out of first and knows with just 7 races remaining, time is running out. So what better way to make a statement and to make up some points than to go out and get a win here today? When we raced here in June, Dillon started from the pole, dominated the race, and went on to win. Well, he's starting from the pole here today. He told me this track, it's just that track that fits his style. Mike Massaro?
Elliott Sadler comes into the day just 9 points behind championship leader Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Asked how he sees this championship battle playing out, Sadler says he thinks it's going to come down to the driver who makes the least mistakes. Now, Sadler knows Stenhouse is going to be strong down the stretch, and because of that, he says we need to win more races. Today, Sadler rolls off 8th, looking for his 5th win of the season, Jim Noble.
Well, Mike, we all know that Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is moving to the Sprint Cup Series next year, but that move is having an impact right now. This guy, Mike Kelly, crew chief of the 6 car, says Ricky's driving with a ton of confidence, more relaxed than he has ever seen Ricky drive. Next week, of course, Stenhouse does double duty, running the Cup race and the Nationwide race in Dover, but it's all about today, all about extending that points lead on the way to what he hopes is a 2nd straight championship. Marty?
All right, thank you, Jim. Our over-the-wall reporter is the rear tire changer for the number 54 of Kurt Busch. Here's Mark Hollywood Armstrong. And Hollywood, your driver just got here, so he's going to have to start in the back, and that puts extra pressure on you guys on pit stops, doesn't it?
It definitely puts a lot of pressure on it. We're ready for it. This monster team down here is we're psyched. We know we got a chance to win this race. But everybody talks about that last pit stop being the money stop. Today, it could be our first pit stop would be the money stop. Get our car adjusted, get Kurt up front, win this race, guys.
All right, you guys be safe down there. Thanks, Hollywood. And don't forget that they're going to get a bit of a break here as lap 30 we will have a competition caution, so they will get an early shot at making some adjustments on that 54. And we'll keep an eye on Kurt as he tries to come up through the field from the back of the pack. There is the front row with Austin Dillon. The pole sitter has selected the high side. Driver's right. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. right underneath him. Then in row 2, it's Sam Hornish Jr., Drew Herring, Michael Annett, Brendan Gaughan, then Brian Scott, Elliott Sadler, Alex Bowman, and Justin Allgaier. That is your top 10. The pace car has pulled down, and this race at Kentucky is green. Saw Blaney go high through turn number 2. Now it looks like Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has cleared and taken over that top spot as they head through 3 and 4.
Yeah, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Austin Dillon, 2 of the fastest drivers in the series, but they have 2 completely different styles, really contrasting styles. Ricky Stenhouse will drive deep into the corner all the way to the white line. Number 3 of Austin Dillon, he kind of eases off early, gets back into the accelerator sooner. 2 different styles, both get great results. Austin not only won the pole, he shattered everyone in the field. 0.3 of a second, Marty.
Trouble on the backstretch. We've got one car slow and towards the wall. The yellow is out already here on, we're working lap number 2, and it is the 87 of Joe Nemechek, one of the 3 double-duty drivers. And Joe has turned it around. Doesn't look like he has any serious damage, but it's just enough to bring out the caution. And Kurt Busch, in 1 lap, is already up to 27th. Can you believe that?
Joe, try to get caught up in.
Actually, I can. I can. Like Beam told me, the 54 car has a 180-degree different setup than what they had when they finished second here. That's hard to imagine, considering how competitive they were. But it's a different track, different temperature, different circumstance.
Well, one thing's changed from the June race already. Austin Dillon dominated. Remember, he led all but 8 of the 200 laps, and so far, Ricky Stenhouse has been the race leader from the drop of the green flag here, despite Austin starting on point.
Marty, I say a different track. It's got a little different feel than when these guys were here. 105-degree weather, and Austin clearly has picked up where he left off here in June.
Well, we're going to step aside for a quick break here at Kentucky. Stay with us. We'll reset it and go green again. Let's quickly check the calendar because the Texas NHRA Fall Nationals qualifying is at 3 a.m. Sunday morning on ESPN2. And then the final eliminations will be 8:30 Eastern tomorrow on ESPN2. Tomorrow at 1, chase race number 2, the Sylvania 300 in New Hampshire. That's on ESPN. And our next stop next week at Dover, 3 o'clock Eastern, Saturday on ESPN2. Pace car has pulled off. 3 of the 4 tops in points. Stenhouse, Dillon, Hornish. That's your top 3. And again, it is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and he has selected drivers left, the inside line. If you're wondering where Elliott Sadler's restarting, he's 7th.
Looks like Drew Herring spun the tires a little on the restart. Held up the outside lane.
Looks like it's going to cost Michael Annett as the 31 of Justin Allgaier gets under.
Sam Hornish taking a look underneath Ricky Stenhouse.
Side by side with the 3 of Austin Dillon, and he's taking a look.
Early on, I expect the low side's going to have speed. As the race goes on, as your tires build heat and pressure, these cars will move up.
Side-by-side action there. That's the 33 of Brendan Gaughan alongside the 2 of Elliott Sadler. Talked to Brendan right before qualifying. He said he had a good, stable race car underneath him. He was quickest in the last practice, and there you see the 3-car of Austin Dillon now taking over and controlling second place, at least for the moment. Oh, a little nudge.
A little bit of contact there.
And Sam says, thank you, I'll take it back. It also allowed the 2 of Elliott Sadler and the 33 of Brendan Gaughan to get a little closer to that group. And there's the 18 of Drew Herring right behind those 2.
Austin Dillon told me earlier in the day that he thought he was as good as he was when he won here in June, but everybody else had caught up to him.
Drew Herring has to get out of the throttle as he got down low but couldn't hold it. Got a spin up in the turn 4 area. That's Brad Sweet, and everybody's trying to split him.
A scramble.
As the caution is out for the second time here.
Hey, Marty, this is a trend that started last night in the Truck Series. These cars are sensitive, aero. They need all the downforce they can through the turns. The bumps seem to be complicating matters more than ever. A lot of cautions last night, and obviously a lot of cautions to start this race.
The 38 was running in 12th position. Let's go back and catch up where we can. It's already started.
He's got the car locked down, doesn't make contact with the outside wall, and then everyone else takes a defensive approach. It looks like he got in the corner a little bit hot and maybe actually had to chase the back of the car.
Let's go on board with Danica Patrick.
Yeah, he was actually in the middle, and I think that speaks to that sensitivity of aerodynamics and downforce. When you're in the middle, that's when you're probably the most compromised on corner entry.
All right, let's go back to the restart because we've been informed from NASCAR they have warned the 6 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. about slow approaching the zone.
Yeah, so what that does, the ripple effect is that everybody's in second gear by going slow, backing everybody up. They're on and off the gas. They're dragging the brake. And then, like the 18, you see that rear wheel spin? That's a product of not timing it perfectly, but also the RPM is so low that when you go back to the accelerator, you oftentimes spin the tires, particularly on a 1.5-mile track because the tires are much harder on these bigger tracks. Well, we get away with a slow start like that, Marty, on a short track, but not so much here.
So he has been warned to watch that pace. He has led all 9 laps here at Kentucky. We'll step aside quickly and be back here at Kentucky Speedway before we go green. Let's go back to that close call. We thought there was contact between the 12 and the 3, but watch from this angle.
As the driver.
No, I ain't gonna deal with that.
So Austin on the radio there saying he wasn't thrilled with the maneuver by the 12. As we get ready to go back to green flag racing, it'll be Ricky Stenhouse Jr. on point again. He has taken drivers left. Hornish, Dillon, Sadler, that's your top 4. 4 in your championship, running 1st through 4th on the racetrack.
So you heard Austin Dillon say that he wasn't going to put up with that. As a driver, you never like to be passed. You take it personal if there's contact made. Obviously, we saw there was no contact made, but when you're in the seat of that car at that speed, sometimes it feels like contact was made.
Justin Allgaier in 5th, losing a little contact with the first 4. The 33 of Brendan Gaughan right behind him.
So let's see if contact's made again. Here comes Austin Dillon after Sam Harnish. And the reason it feels like it partly is because the track's so rough. Watch the left rear tire of the 12 car going in and out of the quarter panel. If you hit a bump and you turn sideways, oftentimes it feels like contact was made.
Those two fighting the position has allowed Ricky Stenhouse Jr. to open up a bit of a gap. We're on board with Hornish.
This is such a great shot. Look at the right front tire going in and out of that fender, and you see turning right, left, the chatter. These drivers will talk about losing the front end because of that chatter or washboard effect.
You were talking about how turn 3 is the most difficult corner in NASCAR from these guys, and you just saw it there on that onboard camera. I mean, that camera is solidly mounted. It doesn't normally vibrate that much.
That's right. These cars favor banked racetracks. Look at it this way, Marty. The more banking, the harder the left side tires work. The harder the left side tires work, the more comfortable these cars drive. The left side tires don't work that hard at this track. And that's why we're probably going to see some 2-tire stops.
On board with Allgaier. Getting your fillings sort of shook out of your teeth right now going through those corners.
You see the splitter on the front of these cars. Made of carbon fiber, a composite, really hard material. When that hits the racetrack, the driver loses all feel in the steering wheel. He's along for the ride. So, you know, it's really complicated for the crew chief trying to find that perfect balance.
Drew Herring, as you see right there in the 18, running 7th. Brian Scott right behind him in 8th.
Hey, listen, his coach this week was Joey Logano. Isn't that perfect? Joey had a lot of success here in the Nationwide Series. Drew Herring had never competed on a 1.5 mile track. Who better to teach him the ropes?
Well, and the funny part about it was for Drew, he's actually older than Joey.
That is an interesting point. He deserves an opportunity to go full-time racing because he has the tools. He's a good racer. He's a smart racer. He has that instinct. I've always liked what I've seen from this young man.
There are the 3 cars battling it out for 5th position, led by Justin Allgaier. They are 3.3 seconds behind our race leader, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who has led all 18 laps.
And Brendan Gaughan here, he looks solid in the 33 car racing for Richard Childress. Told me earlier he understands his role. At this point in the season, it's to help the 2 or the 3 win a championship. Experimenting with a setup. He says, this is the craziest setup you've ever seen, Ricky. I've stuck with it. I think it's going to reward us.
His best finish this year, as you might expect, is his hometown track in Las Vegas, where he finished 5th, Shannon.
And Brendan Gaughan has already radioed in with car conditions. He said just a little bit tight, which is a little bit different than what he experienced in practice. But he told his crew chief, I think it will go away as the run goes longer and longer. So just hanging on for that competition caution on lap 30, guys.
Thank you, Shannon. Back on board with Allgaier.
And as they run longer and longer, I like the look of this 33 car from the middle off, the exit of the corner. It's carrying a lot of speed, not carrying as much speed into the turn, getting back to the accelerator sooner. That'll reward him also as far as right rear tire wear. The car looks solid.
Let's update you on some other cars that have pulled behind the wall. Carl Long, Tanner Berryhill, Matt Carter, Chase Miller, Matt DiBenedetto. Also the 10 of Charles Lewandowski and the 42 of Matt Fromm. Battle out on the racetrack, Jeremy Clements, and here comes Kurt Busch as he has worked his way from the back of the field. He is running 15th right now, and that's Mike Bliss in the 44.
Sizing up Mike Bliss, Jeremy Clement. He's not only acclimating himself to this car and this track, but you got to understand all the other elements of switching from New Hampshire in that Cup car, the horsepower, and everything else, transitioning to the Nationwide car. Mike, what do you got on the 54?
talking to Mike Beam, guys, before the race, I asked him, what do you think you have? After all, Matt Crafton practiced the car for Kurt Busch. He just shrugged his shoulders and said, I really don't know. Something I do know, I've got a wheelman behind the steering wheel of this car. He's proving it today. Up 28 spots so far, guys.
And closing on Jeremy Clements in the 51. And remember, we've got that competition caution coming up in 7 laps, and they will get to make adjustments. While all this has been going on, Ricky Stenhouse Jr.'s lead over Sam Hornish is now 1.6 seconds, and it's another 0.3 of a second back to Austin Dillon. We'll step aside and get ready for that competition caution coming up. Getting closer to this competition caution. There's the gap between Sam Hornish and Austin Dillon. That is second and third on the racetrack. They're all chasing Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who started second, but has led all 29 laps so far.
And drivers should be feeding their crew chiefs information at this point. And the crew chief should be discussing the idea of 2 tires versus 4, gain track position.
And remember, we were talking as the caution now comes out, and we'll get a chance to see what happened. Kurt Busch was not able to get past Jeremy Clements. So what that basically tells you was, right now, the way it was set up, he had a 13th place car.
Yeah, the car kind of stalled out there.
Yeah.
So it might be track position also. You know, he ran hard to get to that point. You can tax the tires. Marty, if you run too hard too soon, you can tax them. Build too much temp too quickly.
But they are going to get a chance to work on these cars now. The 6 of Ricky Stenhouse had a 1.5 second lead, and as we said, has led every single lap. In the process, he put 5 cars a lap down, and the 50 you see right behind him there of David Starr will get the beneficiary of the lucky dog, and he'll get back on the lead lap. So that'll give us 31 cars.
I'm not surprised that Ricky Stenhouse is running in the lead as fast as he is. I am a little surprised that Austin Dillon hasn't challenged him. He was over 0.3 of a second faster than the second place car in qualifying. I mean, lightning fast. So far, that hasn't translated to race trim.
We'll find out what happens on the adjustments as everybody will come in. And the reason for the competition caution, if you joined us late, is last night we had a rainstorm come through here. A little bit of high wind, not much damage of any significance. A few pop-up tents got blown around a little bit, but it washed off all the rubber, and NASCAR always likes to run these competition cautions when that happens. Gives the crew chiefs a chance to take a look at the tires, because remember, they're running on 5 sets total for this entire race.
Nobody in the garage area indicated to me that they were worried about left side tire wear, but they do want to take a good look at the right side tires.
Let's send it to Mike Massaro.
And Sadler complaining that the car is a little bit tight getting through the center and might actually be hitting the splitter at times. They're going to make a chassis adjustment as they go to work on the right side and now to the left side. A 4-tire change on the 2, Jim.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. needs a little more security on entry. He's sliding the tires around. A 2-tire stop, air pressure, and chassis adjustment for the 6 car. Shannon.
Aggressive changes for the 12. They pulled a spring rubber and chassis adjustment. 2 tires for both the 12 and the 3. The 3 says he's tight.
And you saw what happened to the 6 as Eric McClure came in, and it is going to cost Ricky Stenhouse dearly as he is still on pit road. Jim.
Guys, they are jacking up the left side of the 6 again right after we called the pit stop. He had a collision. I can't see the right side of the car right now. Maybe you guys can, but they're retightening the lug nuts. And now Ricky Stenhouse Jr. pulls away.
Does not look like there's any tire rub, but let's go back and take a look at what was a strategic move that just turned into disaster.
Yeah, so here's how it goes. The spotter tells you, keep it tight, which he did. The 14's coming in. What he needed to tell him was, listen, brake, lift, let the 14 in.
Here's what happened from on board with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Ouch. Back here at the Kentucky 300, the race has changed because Ricky Stenhouse Jr., the points leader, has contact on pit road. He will restart in 28th position. You can see the damage that has been repaired on the right front corner after the contact with Eric McClure. Up front, it is Austin Dillon, Sam Hornish, Brian Scott, Justin Allgaier, and we're green. We were talking at the beginning of the day what the two that are leading up front right now needed to have happen. It just did. The question is now, does Ricky Stenhouse Jr. have enough to get back into contention into this race? Because Sam Hornish Jr. in second, Austin Dillon in first, are living life large right now. This is exactly what they needed.
Yeah, but let's be clear. Ricky Stenhouse proved last week he can manage this kind of adversity. I mean, he came charging back late in the race last week, a similar situation where he had a problem and had to fight back. The difference is here, Marty, he spent all day out front. So what complicates the situation is his only reference was in clean air. He doesn't know if the tight condition he's probably going to feel here is a product of the damage or a product of being in traffic. Jim, what do you got on the 6th?
Well, guys, the message being relayed by crew chief Mike Kelly right now, patience. There's a long time to go. Mike Kelly told Ricky, you've got a very fast race car. There was a split in the hood that they covered with Barabon. Ricky was worried about his steering, but now thinks it's okay.
That's a great reference. Listen, he's got a little more on his mind right now than the damage on the hood. 3 wide in front of him. Got to navigate through this traffic, Marty. This is where you can get yourself in trouble. This is where you could lose a championship.
Especially because he knows he has a faster car than most of those cars around him.
That's right. So there really isn't any urgency. It's lap 38 of 200.
While all this is happening, there is your first 4 cars. Look who's into 5th. The 54 of Kurt Busch. Started in the back of the field. Didn't turn a lap in this car until the green flag dropped. We mentioned the fact that it was going to be a chance for them to adjust on lap number 30, and boy, have they made it pay off. Elliott Sadler going after Justin Allgaier takes over the 3rd position now. So it's Dillon, Hornish, and Sadler.
Caution's out.
And we've got caution again on the racetrack.
Yeah, same turn 3.
And this time it is Drew Herring, as he is doing some agricultural racing with the splitter.
That has been the trouble turn for sure. That car looks pretty good considering what it just went through.
He was running 7th. And from Ryan Blaney's car, we'll get a look, see what happened to Drew.
Looks like the 43 got a piece of it. It's like the 43 got a piece of it. That line between carrying enough speed into the corner to maintain your position and carrying too much is the difference between managing your car and stepping over the edge. And that 43 car right there stepped over the edge.
But it looks like Drew Herring came out of it with minimal problems. I mean, I don't see any damage on the left side of the car. We looked at the front, and even though he got a lot of grass up there, it looks like he's going to be okay.
It's really amazing. 190-mile-an-hour corner. You survive it.
Drew Herring still out there. Well, the complexion of this race for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has changed dramatically. He led the first 32 laps until this pit stop during a competition caution gets collected in contact with the 14 of Eric McClure. They had to come back in a second time to repair the damage that was on the right front. And they came back out in 28th position. And right now, they will restart in 19th.
Yeah, he's got the best spotter in the business, Mike Kalanoff. So 99% of the time when that happens, it's because 2 people were talking on the radio at the same time, and he didn't get any help.
You can see how it could affect the championship. Let's get an update on the 6th, Jim Noble.
Well, guys, here's the scene. Mike Kelly is taking the crew along what they need to do to make this race car a little bit better. Now, Mike looked at a piece that the team fabricated a couple of minutes ago right down here in the pits. This is going to be the new right front fender, but Mike had a problem with the way it was constructed. He thought it was going to flap around a little bit too much, so they backed off that plan right now. And they're trying to figure out what they're going to do next with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Might just bring it in and tape it down a little bit more.
What once was looking so promising is now a huge challenge. You can see Ricky's got his hand on the top of his head going, oh my, I got a headache right now. And can't blame him. He was riding pretty the first 32 laps. All right, let's reset it for you. It's going to be Austin Dillon in front on the driver's right. Sam Hornish Jr. alongside. Then Elliott Sadler and Justin Allgaier in row 2. Kurt Busch is now 5th. Brian Scott is 6th. Green flag flies.
Green flag. Well, this is going to be interesting.
Allgaier's going to try and make it 3 wide.
That outside lane hasn't proven to me to have enough grip yet.
He may have enough to clear the 3, though. And he does.
And he does.
So move Justin Allgaier up to second, and here comes Sadler underneath the 3. On board with Elliott.
You can see the cars moving around. Because there is so many bumps all the way around this racetrack, and the driver can feel when a car comes up to his left rear, like Elliott is here. You can sense that from inside your car. Look at this.
Oh, you saw the 31 get loose, and the 3 is going to take advantage. Austin Dillon goes around, and can he clear him? Not yet.
Marty, that looked like he was loose getting in the corner. Actually, that was a product of too much steering wheel. He carried so much speed in, put so much steering into the car that the car snapped loose when he went back to the accelerator.
So now put Allgaier back to 4th, side-by-side action with the 54 of Kurt Busch, the 11 of Brian Scott, and look who has crept up from his 20th starting position. You're on board with Ryan Blaney in 7th. 18-year-old is moving forward.
Yeah, usually you can measure drivers' development month to month, year to year, almost as though you can watch him develop week to week. He is so impressive.
Would you see Kurt's car just dancing around there?
Yeah, again, you know, the difficulty for Kurt is that he doesn't have that reference of practice. He doesn't understand the limit of this car and this setup. And what he does have reference to is when he finished 2nd in June. But as Mike Beam said to me earlier, this is a completely different setup. You learn as you go.
Let's go a battle for the race lead between the 2 of Elliott Sadler as he goes underneath and around the 12 of Sam Hornish Jr.
It's really impressive, Marty. This is a show of strength for Elliott. He's needed to reverse course. He needs to put the pressure on the 6 car. This is exactly the type of thing he needs to position himself for his first NASCAR Nationwide Series championship.
He's our 5th different leader. We've had 5 lead changes so far. We've already had 4 cautions. They had 7 last night in the Truck Series race.
Nothing gets your attention like looking up at the scoreboard and seeing the guy you're battling for a championship leading.
We're getting word that there may be more issues with the 6 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He is running 19th. Let's go back and show you what happened.
He's just tight all the way, and that's a pretty big hit. Look at the damage on the right rear. Now listen, that right there was more significant than the damage on pit road. That is an insult to injury. That is going to have a negative effect.
And that's harder than his hit last week at Chicago where he hit the wall in practice, and he is slowing markedly. Yeah, he's got trouble.
He might have a right rear down also. He hit hard. You can see the
right
smoke.
Side.
Yep.
Right side tires only. Fix that quarter panel.
So it has gone
off the tires
from really good for 32 laps to bad, and now on lap number 50 to worse. And he does have a flat right rear and a lot of damage on the right side. Jim?
Well, here's the deal. That quarter panel has been rubbing on both tires on the right side. If Ricky Stenhouse Jr. thinks he has one going down, they're not going to take any chances. Here comes Stenhouse. He's going to pull in. What Mike Kelly said was make sure you pull that sheet metal off the tires. Take as much time as you want. And yeah, there is a shred of tire coming off that 6 car. They'll also take this opportunity to fill them up with some no-go racing fuel.
And you got to remember, this is the same team that has finished no worse than 2nd in their last 4 races. 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and right now they are dropping like a rock. They're 31st, 1 lap down.
Well, he's not going to finish 1st or 2nd today. This is damage control. This is the old expression, live by the sword, die by the sword, because I love to watch this young man race on the edge, but when you go over the edge, this is the penalty.
And instead of limiting the damage, it made it worse.
It really did. It exaggerated a deficit or a problem, and he's going to beat himself up a little bit for that one.
Well, his points lead prior to the pit stop was up to 16 based on where everybody was running on the track. Right now, Elliott Sadler goes back into the lead by 23.
It's amazing. We didn't imagine that.
No, but and there's still time in this race. But you got to remember, Stenhouse right now is shown in 31st position, 2 laps down.
Right. Right, so there's still time to recover and, correct some of the damage. But again, there's too much damage to that race car for him to finish in the top 5. There's the tire you can see as a result of the body rubbing the tire, cutting the inside of it.
And that's the inner liner that you see that still has air in it. And that's what is mandatory on the 1.5 miles and up.
So it's not only an opportunity for Elliott Sadler, it's an opportunity for these two.
That's right. The top 3 right now are the other 3 in the points championship battle. There's Elliott Sadler. Sam Hornish is second. Austin Dillon is third. Stay with us. This has turned into a very interesting day. Ricky Stenhouse's day started out great. Led the first 32 laps. Competition caution comes out and bam! Contact with Eric McClure, and they have to come back in and do some serious repair work on the right front. But then it went from bad to worse because Ricky, pushing too hard, steps over the line and spanks the wall. And then comes in with a lot of damage on the right side, including a flat tire, and he is now 2 laps down in 30th position. And he came in as the points leader, entering the race by 9. Right now, unless some things change, he can find himself back in second place and maybe even deeper. The guy who has benefited the most, Elliott Sadler. He is running up front right now. He's one of our 5 different leaders. And why don't we go up to speed with Nationwide Insurance, and Mike Massaro, you're up first.
And talking to his crew chief, Luke Lambert, at the beginning of the weekend, he told me they changed their setup dramatically from what they had here in June. He said back then it was kind of an R&D setup. This time around, though, they're going to go with something that is, as he says, tried and true. It's looking pretty true right now. He's out front. He's saying the car's just a little bit tight, but otherwise, real happy, Shannon.
Well, I spoke with Sam Hornish Jr. before he climbed in the car. I asked him how final practice went, and he kind of said, well, they didn't really know what they had. They tried some new things in practice this week, and right now they're just battling free, but he says he's pretty good in 3 and 4. Now, Austin Dillon won this race here in Kentucky back in June. They brought the same car, the same setup that they ran back then, but the car has been tighter. Austin told me he feels that because the temperatures are lower and the speeds are higher, he's had to adjust. Mike?
Of the weekend, I asked him what challenges came with having another driver shake down the machine during practice. He said he needed to build a lot of adjustability into it. Get this is what they did on the first stop. 4 tires, air pressure, tape, a rubber out, and a chassis adjustment on this race car, and he is absolutely flying. Kurt has come from the back and is now inside the top 5. Meanwhile, you've got the 11 car of Brian Scott. He's been pretty happy with the race car. Said initially it was tight through the center and in turn 1 and 2. But he radioed to Kevin Kidd, his crew chief, saying, I have something I can work with this afternoon. Earlier this summer, after crashing in Bristol, Justin Allgaier changed his mentality. No longer was he focused on the championship. He says his mentality now is go for broke and try to win races. Take some risks. He's been doing that out on the racetrack today, making some very aggressive moves, although the car just a little bit loose on throttle right now. Jim?
Well, Ryan Blaney in the number 22 car started out loose. Then he got looser, but now you see the car has come to life, looking to pass Justin Allgaier to move up 1 more spot. They made a pit stop on lap 33, a 2-tire stop, and now you see Allgaier pass him back. Guys?
And right behind him, you can see the 99 of Alex Bowman. Bowman making another start in the Nationwide Series. He was in the 30 last week. And he gets around Ryan Blaney. So Alex moves up a spot, put him into the 7th position. Austin Dillon is now in the 2nd position. Elliott Sadler about 2 seconds ahead of him. Let's show you how he got around while we were doing the up to speed.
Yeah, Austin running the middle of the racetrack where he says he's most comfortable. Smoothest part. Gets to his right rear again as a driver. You can feel this. Your car starts to stall. When the car gets to your left rear tire, the air comes off the nose of the 3, dumps onto the spoiler of the 12, gives them the momentum to get by.
And as you can see, he's opened up a bit of a gap now on the 12th car. In fact, Sam is in jeopardy of losing a spot to the 54 of the charging Kurt Busch.
And Mike Massaro was right on the money there. 54 is the fastest car on the track right now.
The 99 of Alex Bowman, the 19-year-old. As you can see, he has got the bit between his teeth. Alex is 4th right now in the ARCA points. He has 3 wins this season, 5 in his career. Last year, he was the K&N East Rookie of the Year, beating out the likes of Corey LaJoie and Bill Elliott's son, Chase.
And this is really impressive to watch the way he's managing this pass with Justin Allgaier. It's a difficult pass getting into the corners. You see Kurt Busch going underneath Sam Hornish. This car is coming to life. Kurt is racing with authority.
And Sam is falling off. His lap time, he is the slowest of the top 6 cars.
Boy, there's a lot of experience sitting on the box of the 54 team. Mike Beam will adjust this car if Kurt gives him the right information. I think this 54 car and the 3 car are going to be the cars to beat in the end. Not taking anything away from Elliott Sadler. It's just that these 2 cars look like they're getting faster as the track gets darker. Remember, there's going to be more and more rubber laid down here in the next 130 laps.
Well, Shannon Spake, Sam Hornish has been backing up a little bit. What are you hearing?
Yeah, and they did get pretty aggressive on that first pit stop. They took a spring rubber out of the right rear. He did say he's just way too free out there right now. So expect to see some more aggressive adjustments next time he comes down pit road.
From Sam, it's another 5 seconds back to 5th place Brian Scott. So he has nobody to worry about in his mirrors. He can focus on, whoa, and you saw the 54 get so loose in that corner. And somehow Kurt held onto it and held onto the spot.
Yeah, boy, he's got such great feel. If you don't have great feel in a race car and the car surprises you, you're late to react to that. And the first sense that you know you're in trouble is right before you hit the wall. Kurt was ahead of the car, anticipated the right rear, getting loose, and he steered into it.
Remember when Ryan Blaney was in 7th just a few laps ago, and it looks like he is dropping back. Jim Noble, what are you hearing?
There was a panicked radio transmission from Ryan Blaney about a lap and a half ago. Said his water temperature and then oil temperature both skyrocketed. Thought he had debris on the grill. They're trying to get him to come up close and suck up against another car to remove that debris. Seems to have stabilized a little bit right now, but they're still keeping a close eye on it down here in the 22 pit.
Now, you notice when we get that long shot from across the track, our camera is having a hard time staying focused on the car. It's not that the guys had a late night last night, folks. The wind has really picked up here. It is about 20 to 25 miles an hour, and it is really blowing everybody up topside here.
So the effect of that for the drivers, Marty, if you get that wind to your back running into the corner, that'll cause too much speed getting into the corner. That causes a tight condition. On the flip side, if you get that heading into the corner, then you have a tendency to go back to the accelerator too soon. That was 31 is coming to pit road.
That was a battle for 7th, and Justin Allgaier is coming to pit road here on lap number 74. Mike?
Justin Allgaier coming down pit road right now for service. Appears to be a little bit early, going to work on the right side of that machine. Allgaier saying he's looking for a little bit of side bite. Said the last adjustment helped, but he needs a little bit more of that. So look for them to work on the track bar here. As they lowered it last time, they'll lower it even more here, and an air pressure adjustment. 17 seconds for Allgaier.
Marty, that seems awfully early for a stop, but this car looked ugly to me, and I think that he needed to come in and make some changes.
Yeah, the pit window is about 55 to 60 laps. He came in on about 41 laps since our competition caution, so that gives you an idea just maybe what you were talking about. How the tables have turned here at Kentucky Speedway today. On the left is your race leader, and the way it stands right now, we're going to be retaking the points lead, Elliott Sadler. On the right is Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who has just been lapped by Elliott during the commercial break. He is now 3 laps down in 28th position. The only good news for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is he can only possibly lose 3 more spots. 12 cars are already out of the race.
Well, that's an optimistic way of looking at it, I guess. That's it.
Here's how the points have swung from the beginning of the race. +9. Before the first pit stop, when he had led every lap, he was up 16. After the first pit stop, -5. Then when he hit the wall, he is now 23 points behind.
I'm surprised he's running as fast as he is, considering the damage to these cars. You hear the reference to side force constantly, because that really helps the driver get down into the corner. That 6 car has no side force right now.
The 4 car is slow. That's Danny Eflin. Eflin is running 24th position. He is 1 lap down right now. It looks like they will not bring out a caution. We'll keep you posted on that. He is just coming down the backstretch. May have to rethink that. I don't know if he has enough power to get all the way around to pit in. While all that's going on, take a look with the 43 of Michael Annett, the 88 of Cole Witt, and that is the battle for 7th position.
If that car makes it back to the front stretch, he's going to be okay, because we got a 35-mile-an-hour wind blowing off of turn 4 here.
Well, the wind has actually been swirling all over, and it has caused a lot of havoc for, obviously, they mentioned the camera crews, but it looks like he's going to make it, although he didn't get into the runoff lane. He's still on the track apron.
And Michael Annett has done a great job this year, Marty. You know, this was one of his best performances here in June. I watched him earlier this week. He had a lot of confidence coming back. He looked really good in practice, and he looks good today.
He finished 4th in that June race here at Kentucky Speedway, and we can tell you that Eflin did make it to his pit box. So we stay green. We've had 4 cautions, and they all came early in this race. We've had 5 different leaders, 5 lead changes, and as we mentioned, a total now of 13 cars are out of this race.
Every driver responds to something different. Felipe Lopez is the crew chief on this 43 car, and there's no question in my mind that Michael has responded to whatever language he's speaking, whether it's the way he reacts to his. Oh, we got
a big spin down the front straightaway there. That's the 19 of Taylor Malsom, and he's coming back up on the track.
I don't know if he got a piece of the wall off of 4 or not, but boy, he shot across the infield.
Well, and this comes at an opportune time, because we were getting ready for green flag pit stops.
It's not opportune for the cars that pitted, Marty, the 31 and Danica Patrick. A little high. You can see Elliott making the pass. Gets a bump from Mike Wallace.
It looked like they all were trying to avoid that one car that was coming down pit road.
Yeah, I think that Elliott actually slid up here, forcing the 19 to roll out of the gas. And Mike Wallace got into the back of him. I think they were high enough so that the car coming to pit road really didn't come into play. But no, I'm wrong. Actually, Elliott Sadler did have to react to that. Checked up. And just a chain reaction.
Well, Malsom was running 18th at the time.
That was really good camera work. They gave us a couple of good angles there.
And you can see he's got a little bit of damage on that right front corner.
So Danica, having pitted along with Justin Allgaier, I think are going to pay a penalty for that.
Well, they might be able to take the wave around depending on what happens. We'll see if they can get back on. Although Danica has now shown 2 laps down. Justin Allgaier has shown 1 lap down. We'll wait for it all to sort out.
And to your point, you know, it was early. These cars can go 55 laps roughly on a tank of fuel. The car had to be pretty ugly from inside the driver's seat, inside the cockpit, to make those pit stops that early.
Well, Danica, when she pitted, was running in 18th and had not moved very far in either direction. She was basically just holding station. Meanwhile, Elliott Sadler, Austin Dillon, they're leading the charge down with the 54 of Kurt Busch. And let's send it to Mike Massaro first.
And Elliott Sadler will roll down pit road to get service from his team. Very happy with his race car. Only looking for minor adjustments here. Air pressure and also a slight chassis adjustment on the 2 car. Behind him, Kurt Busch. They made wholesale changes last time down pit road. They're making big changes here once again. 4 tires, fuel, air pressure, also a spring rubber being taken out of that right rear as well. The 11 also on pit road. He's pretty happy with his race car. A little bit tight, but otherwise real good. Shannon?
Austin Dillon, your pole sitter, says he's free on gas. Tight center, 4 tire change. Small adjustment for the 3.
And the race off pit road, you see that Austin Dillon picks up the spot at the expense of Elliott Sadler. Brian Scott picks up 2. The big winner, look at Drew Herring. After the spin, has now 6th off the line off pit road. Let's go over the wall with Mark Hollywood Armstrong on that last stop for the 54. Good boy. 300, it is very windy. The gusts are now up to 30 miles an hour, and that's what it's doing to our camera guys, and they are trying to hang on. And let's talk to our in-race reporter. That is young Ryan Blaney. He's running 11th.
Ryan Blaney, Ricky Craven in the ESPN booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Ryan, you look solid. You've marched your way toward the front, but one thing I want to ask you about is the wind. We're seeing the gusts up here. Are you being affected by it?
Yeah, we were working our way up to the front. We got a piece of trash on the grill, and it made us really, really loose. And kind of lost some positions there, but the wind impacted us a little bit, just kind of blowing us into each corner. You never know what it's going to do, but I think we can get back up there. We'll see.
I know you're going to get busy here coming to the green. Listen, thank you for your time. Good luck.
Thank you.
3 waiver rounds, including 2 to get back on the lead lap. Justin Allgaier and Jason Bowles. Danica Patrick, the other one, she is now 1 lap down in 24th position. 18 cars total on the lead lap. Austin Dillon will lead. As you can see, he'll be alongside of Elliott Sadler. Then in row number 2, you've got Brian Scott and Sam Hornish Jr. Then in row number 3, it will be Kurt Busch and Drew Herring. Pace car has pulled off. Austin Dillon has selected the high side. Driver's right. Brings him down. Green flag flies.
Green flag.
You know, I'm thinking that the lower line is better.
Yeah, Brian Scott got really loose there. And, oh, you know what? When you get that loose in the middle of the corner, you need someone behind you to be generous and give you a break. And he got that break, but he's still not out of trouble.
Yeah, I think Alex Bowman could have turned him real easily right there in that 99.
Yeah, now he slides up in front of Brendan Gaughan. Golly, that car doesn't look good getting in the corner.
On board with Blaney.
This right here, as you're transitioning from the straight and you turn into the corner, is when you're most sensitive and vulnerable. Car gets loose, you always have to steer into it, but when there's a car to your right side, and there's Brian Scott.
And I think he spanked the wall.
He did spank the wall hard. Now he's shaking the car, see if he's got a tire down. That car did not look good from the drop of the green flag.
James Buescher in the 30, last night's Truck Series winner. Trying to get underneath and pass the 11 before it gets even worse for everybody there, although it looks like it has calmed down a little bit for Brian Scott. Let's go back and show you what happened.
Middle of the corner, gets up in the gray, dirty. You can hear the rocks pounding off the filler panels of the car when you're up that high, and he just loses grip, slides into the wall.
Meanwhile, Elliott Sadler has opened up that big of a lead over second place Austin Dillon, and then Kurt Busch is running third. Cole Witt has pushed his way into the top 4. Sam Hornish Jr., there they are, side by side. Hornish trying to take the spot away from him.
There's no experience like running amongst the leaders. One of the most difficult aspects of a season is when you're sort of muddled along 10th to 15th all year and you're running in that group, you learn bad habits. When you run among the leaders like this, you learn good habits.
And look at the 18 on the right side of the screen. Remember when Drew Herring was doing that little agricultural racing? He has fought his way back to 6th. Jim, give us an update on both those cars.
Well, I'll tell you what, Cole Witt has kind of been in stealth mode right now. He's kind of a little tight on the throttle. That's really been his only complaint over the last 50 laps or so. They told him, you're doing great. You're a haul in the mail right now. And how about Drew Herring? You mentioned his early spin. They made a big swing at it back at lap 40 with a wedge adjustment, track bar adjustment. Yeah, up until then, he said he was super tight, just killing his speed. And since that pit stop, that 18 car has really come to life, guys.
Super tight means, all right, if a driver's holding his right hand at 12 o'clock and his left hand at 9 o'clock, super tight means that the right hand goes to 9 o'clock. Look at this battle for the lead.
Austin Dillon's got to run down the backstretch, going into 3 where it really gets rough.
Yes, it gets rough. It's flat. Car feels like it falls over on the right front tire.
And here comes Sadler back on the high side.
And you better clear him through the middle of 3 and 4, because if you don't, the momentum will favor the outside car down the front stretch.
You notice that bump right at the start-finish line? There's a walk-through tunnel down there. Some of the drivers are saying that's the worst bump on the racetrack.
Yeah, I noticed that Austin Dillon turned right, getting in the corner right there. Kind of brings into play the radio last week, right? There was a little tension between teammates. And I thought it was awesome. I really did, because it was pure emotion. It was authentic. Danny Stockman saying, look, don't help the 2-car today. Well, listen, when it's September, you don't help anybody. Both of these drivers have a shot at a championship.
Let's get an update on that 2-car. Mike Massaro.
And Ricky, I was thinking the exact same thing about that radio transmission a week ago. I had a conversation with Elliott's crew chief, Luke Lambert, about that very situation. He downplayed it and said, look, it was the heat of the battle. He could understand why Danny Stockman said it. He said, we're teammates. I said, would there ever be any hesitation on your part to help them? He said, absolutely not. We are 100% together here at RCR. Shannon?
Yeah, Mike, Danny Stockman told me that the next day after the race on Sunday, he did call Elliott Sadler and just said, hey, man, I'm sorry for those comments over the radio. It was heat of the moment stuff. As far as the 3 right now, the very first few laps of this run, he said he was very loose. They told Austin, you have a long run car. Just wait. It will come to you. They are also talking to him about his corners, telling him to back up corner entry, that when he does that, his lap times are so much faster.
You know, there was a really talented race driver that once said, we're teammates 6 days a week. On Sunday, we race.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Marty. Listen, it flies in the face of competition when you talk about, being teammates on the racetrack. It doesn't exist. I know how drivers think. They become very selfish, very narrow-minded when they strap on the helmet and fire up the engine, as it should be.
Great battle going on there. And let's drop back a little further, because the battle for 5th is still going on, as you've got Cole Witt trying to hang on and hold off. Drew Herring, and Herring taking a peek underneath again. Doesn't have a good enough run. Go back to the battle for the lead, because here comes Austin Dillon, and then here comes Elliott Sadler.
Again, it's very difficult when you drive underneath a car on a 1.5-mile track, because you lose that downforce. Downforce feels good. You lose that downforce, you lose that feel. Instinct is to turn right or roll out of the gas, and that's why he's unable to clear that 2-car, and that's why he's unable to make the pass.
And we talked about this at the beginning of the race. This is the 1.5 miles with the least amount of banking, only 14 degrees, and that means it's a lot harder, as you mentioned, to make those passes, and especially when it looks that rough, because it is that rough. Here at Kentucky Speedway, it has been an eventful day, to say the least. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. came in here with 4 straight finishes in the top 2 and led the first 32 laps, but man, it was a lot of action going on the track. There's when Stenhouse hit the wall. He now finds himself 3 laps down in 26th position. Austin Dillon running in 2nd place, and he's chasing his teammate, the number 2 of Elliott Sadler, but he has not yet been able to get around that number 2 car. Welcome back to the Kentucky 300. Make sure to go to NASCAR.com for all your latest NASCAR information. And Elliott Sadler has now led a total of 59 laps. In fact, this is the most laps Sadler has led since his win back at Iowa, Mr. Craven.
Yeah, well, he needed this kind of a run to kind of change momentum. Ricky Stenhouse went the opposite direction, started strong, had trouble. Let's see if he can capitalize here.
Past the halfway mark, as you can see, we have got a lap 111 of 200 in the books. You can see the lap leaders. We've had a total of 5 different leaders with 7 lead changes. Elliott has led the most. Biggest movers, of course, Kurt Busch had to start in the rear of the field because he had not turned a single lap before the green flag. And there are the points as they run right now. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. came in with a 9-point lead. He could leave here with at least a 20-point gap. Maybe he can narrow it, but as we mentioned, he is running 3 laps down right now in 26th position.
And that's clearly his objective. You know, at this point, for him to say, let's leave here with a 15-point deficit.
Best battle on the racetrack right now is going on between the 88 of Cole Witt, the 18 of Drew Herring.
It is amazing that Drew Herring can get spun, slide across the grass, keep his composure. Team did a whale of a job, and now he's back battling for top 5 position here.
The 25-year-old lives in Benson, North Carolina. This is his only scheduled start for Joe Gibbs Racing this year. He's been in this position before, and remember, this car leads the Owners' Championship right now, and he has been in that spot before, back when they were running at Nashville a couple years ago.
Well, he's doing his job and then some. And you look to your left, Brendan Gaughan also doing a great job today. You mentioned Michael Annett earlier in the year, finished 4th here. He's backing that run up. Swap for position as he clears him getting into turn 1.
So move Brendan Gaughan up into the 8th position. Drop Michael Annett back to 9th. Brendan didn't run here in the June race in the Nationwide Series.
It's really about seize the opportunity. Every time you get close to a car, you have to make that pass within a lap or two, or you're going to heat up the right front tire. You lose so much front downforce, you're going to heat up the right front tire, and you're probably not going to get another shot until you make a pit stop. Your options are to slide back, cool the right front tire, and make another run at them. But if you look at this track, Marty, we talked about the differences between a 1.5-mile track in Chicago versus a 1.5-mile track in Kentucky. One of the big differences is that this track doesn't widen out as much in the corners, so it doesn't give the drivers as many options. The middle lane is the preferred groove, and it just makes it that much more difficult to pass.
Check in on Danica Patrick. She's battling with Mike Wallace right now, and that is for the lucky dog position. Remember, Danica came in early. That's Ryan Pemberton, her new interim crew chief, on the box today. And she is running in the 19th spot. Mike Wallace right in front of her 18th. They are the 2 cars battling for the lucky dog position.
It's pretty significant. I mean, you know, being in that position or not is the difference between salvaging a chance at a top 10 or not. Mike, what do you have for us on the 7 car?
Well, Ricky, as you might imagine, a whirlwind week for Ryan Pemberton. I spoke with him before the weekend had begun. I actually talked to him on the cell phone on Thursday. I asked him, had he even spoken with Danica yet? He said, no. I felt a little uncomfortable that he was talking to me instead of her. He didn't actually speak with Danica until he got here this weekend. And it's been a work in progress the whole weekend long, especially for Ryan. He said he's been leaning on lots of his friends this week to get up to speed with the Nationwide car. After all, it's been several years since he's even been in this garage, Ricky.
That's really interesting stuff, Mike. If you felt bad, why didn't you hang up?
Let's listen in on the 7 radio. She's gotten around. Mike Wallace.
Can't get it done on the inside.
Copy that. I know it's tough down there on the bottom.
And you saw her go to the high side, and she completed the pass on the 01 of Mike Wallace.
Yeah, so that's a good job. What I like there and what I want to hear from Ryan Pemberton, if I am the team owner of the 7 cars, I want to hear coaching. I want to hear him talking early, often, after every restart. I want to get in her head because I like what I see from Danica in terms of talent and ability. I don't necessarily like what I see in terms of how she manages traffic and things. She needs some coaching there.
Well, and one of the issues that we really haven't touched a lot on, but Dale Jr. mentioned it yesterday in his comments over in Loudon, is that they want to take advantage of the relationship that they have with Hendrick Motorsports more than what Pops Ury and Tony Ury Jr. wanted to take advantage. And that was one of the reasons that they made this change.
Well, that's logical. And, you know, I'm going to defend Tony Ury Jr. a little bit in that if I were a driver and I wanted to go for a championship, that's the guy I want on the pit box. He builds fast cars. He is a team player. But here's the bottom line in this business. Like any sport, relationships can grow old, frustration will mount, and then when that line of communication breaks down, you're done. I think that's what happened here with the 7 team. That's the only reason there was a change, in my opinion.
Well, Danica is in the lucky dog position in 18th position. They're all chasing Elliott Sadler, who's got a 1.2 second lead over Austin Dillon. We'll find out if Danica gets back on the lead lap. Have completed 127 of 200 laps. You're looking at the race leader, Elliott Sadler. He leads by 1.7 seconds over Austin Dillon. Sadler looking for his 5th win of 2012. Dropping back, Austin Dillon would, well, his worst finish in 7 races on the mile-and-a-half tracks has been 11th. That was back at Charlotte. Both of these guys looking to make up ground in the points chase on Ricky Stenhouse. The 54 is got an issue. He is slowing. Kurt Busch was running 3rd, and he has got smoke coming out of the back of this car.
Keep in mind, he dropped a cylinder late in the race in June. He finished on 7 cylinders in 2nd place. Shannon, what do you have on the 54?
I just heard some radio chatter over my guys down here on my end of pit road. They said that the 54 was smoking a couple of laps ago, and so it's obviously something that they're watching.
Well, he's heading for pit road.
Yeah.
This team has had everything that can go wrong.
And I know Kyle is probably over in Loudon looking at this and just shaking his head and probably using a few descriptive words.
Well, I can understand Kyle being frustrated. I know he's put a lot of time and money into this, and Kyle and Kurt both run fast when they're in the car. The difficulty is finishing the job. Again, they've had about every problem there is to have. And having said that, and I've said this my whole life, there's a million ways to lose these races, but to win them, you got to be nearly perfect. This team hadn't been perfect yet this year.
Well, now they're going underneath to take a look at what's happening. Meanwhile, the laps keep flying by. Kurt is already 1 lap down, soon to be 2.
You know, a big win at Richmond earlier in the year, and I thought they had turned things around, but this will drive you crazy. You can only control a percentage of this. The mechanical things will force you to stay awake at night.
That's Mark Hollywood Armstrong, the rear tire changer. And he's having trouble getting going. Let's get more on the 54. How about it, Mike?
Now, guys, they're still trying to figure out exactly what's wrong, but I can't tell you when the car was jacked up, there was fluid leaking from the rear end. So it seems to be a gearing problem at this point. They're pulling the car behind the wall as the car was locking up when they tried to put it in gear. They're going to diagnose exactly what's wrong.
Yeah, that's good information, Mike. I tell you, a rear gear is very unusual. Typically, rear gears fail on short tracks. And again, this team seems to be snake bitten.
Meanwhile, let's check back in with the race leader. You can see he's just gotten around Jeremy Clements. He has put Clements 1 lap down. You're on board with Jeremy. He is running in the 16th position. And just behind Jeremy in 17th is Danica Patrick. She is on the verge of going a lap down.
I was watching Elliott Sadler stretch it out there the last 10 laps, and it's as though Austin Dillon has cooled the tires, the front tires on his car, because he's making another charge now, Marty.
Yeah, and this would put Danica 2 laps down again.
I expected more of this team today. I thought that there would be an immediate response, almost always for a driver. When a change is made, it brings with it a little boost, a little spark, and I haven't seen it yet.
Well, it gives you an idea of just how far back, because as we mentioned, Jeremy Clements is actually running behind her, but he is only 1 lap down. She has now just been put 2 laps in the rears. And here comes the 2 closing in on the 23. Of course, that is already lap traffic. Jamie Dick and James Buescher, and Buescher is in 14th spot. So if he gets around Buescher here, that'll mean 13 cars on the lead lap.
And James won the truck race last night. He certainly knows how to get around this racetrack. Elliott Sadler lit him up in Iowa when we were there last. Other than Iowa, this is the best I've seen Elliott. Elliott looks composed, relaxed in the car. That's key. As we see the 99s coming to pit road.
Alex Bowman as he's peeling off from 8th position. Shannon.
What a great run for this 19-year-old in just his 2nd nationwide start. His first one coming last week at Chicagoland Speedway. Really the story of the day for the 99 has been looking for grip. He's been free on the racetrack, but he has managed to keep that car in the top 10 the entire race after starting 9th. You see him working on the right side of the car.
point. You and I were talking during the break, and it doesn't seem like these teams are getting the fuel mileage that they thought they were going to get. Now, 60 laps was the magic number. Some teams thought they could get that much. I'm not convinced they can. But if they can stretch it out a few more laps, they can go the rest of the way. The 31's in, Mike.
And Justin Allgaier saying he's free in, tight middle off. They'll make a chassis adjustment and a 4-tire change for Allgaier, trying to fix him up for this last 70 laps or so.
It means with 63 laps to go, both those cars and others are going to have to make another stop.
Again, the advantage is if you can squeeze out 2 or 3 more laps here, I think you can make a run to the end. I'm surprised these drivers are having to pit when they are, because they're only getting about 52, 53 laps.
Well, we'll find out because the race leader is still running out there, and here comes Danica Patrick back in, Mike.
Danica Patrick has been complaining most of the day about being loose, especially over the bumps. They're looking for a 4-tire change here on the 7 car, an air pressure adjustment as well, trying to help Danica a little bit navigating those bumps. She was in danger of going a lap down just before this pit stop, looking for just a little bit extra stability this time around.
Looking at Elliott Sadler on the right side of the screen, a good handling race car will get better fuel mileage because the driver has more options. He can roll into the corner, roll out of the gas sooner, and the car, because it's balanced so well, will roll through the middle of the corner freer, faster, typically get better fuel mileage.
Well, you mentioned Danica Patrick coming off pit road. She's now 3 laps down, so this is not going to be a very stellar debut with Ryan Pemberton on the box, as they are right now in 21st position. Puff of smoke maybe out of the 99.
Yeah, just came off pit road, so boy, you never like to see that. You always wonder, did we miss a shift? Did something happen leaving pit road?
You're on board with Elliott Sadler. Maybe we'll get a view, and we're getting some moisture coming up onto the onboard camera.
You know, Marty, when you're the leader, you don't want to see moisture on your windshield. You want to get by this car as quickly as possible. You know, the majority of the time when an engine expires, it expires on corner entry. It expires under deceleration. That's why you see so many cars wreck after they've blown an engine. They hardly ever blow up here.
Alex is trying to keep from going 2 laps down. Remember, he has just done a pit stop, and he can't hold on any longer as Elliott Sadler, with his 1.4 second lead over Austin Dillon, gets around Alex Bowman. One person we haven't checked in with today has just cracked into the top 10, and I want to give a shout out to Johanna Long. Johanna has just gotten around Ryan Scott. She's running on the lead lap. There's only 11 cars on the lead lap, and she is in 10th.
Every time I see her run, she does something that impresses me, something that sticks with me, and 1.5 tracks had been her weakness. She's dedicated herself to getting better at this type of track, and she needs to because it's the meat of the schedule, and boy, she's doing it today.
This team faced the nearby Warsaw, Indiana, and so this is almost like a home game for her. And she tested earlier this week in Nashville with Austin Dillon and the 3 team, and they were working specifically on the 1.5 program. It looks like they did some good work.
Nothing motivates you more than to have another driver get in your car and go faster, and that's what I heard happened. How do I know that? Mark Martin, over the years, has gotten in drivers' cars and hurt their feelings. Okay.
2-car Elliott Sadler, we're hearing maybe a possible problem.
Big time. Locking up on me.
If I heard him correctly, he said steering box.
And it looks like he's waving. He's coming in.
Yeah, you can see that. Did you see him turn into the corner? You can see that steering wheel is locking up a little bit. Okay, so maybe going from power steering to no power steering would be really uncomfortable. You'd rather have no power steering than intermittent.
And Austin Dillon is matching him at the same time as they come down pit road. The last time they pitted was on lap 88. Mike.
And where Elliott Sadler says he's feeling it the most is on the backstretch. That's where it's locking up the most. They were going to come in quite a few laps, probably 8 laps or so, but because of that steering box issue, they've decided to come down right now. They're going to make a 4-tire change. They're going to check out all the hubs, make sure everything's okay on this 2 machine as a complete service. Shannon?
Yeah, the plan for the 3-car Boston Dillon was to stay as close to the 2 as possible. He knows that's the only shot he has at trying to pass him. Sunoco Fuel, they are going to wait on it. Also 4 tires as the 3 is just a little bit tight.
So with 54 laps to go, they should be able to go the distance based on what we just saw. 87 of Joe Nemechek also having some smoke issues.
Off the racing surface, so that might help us avoid a caution.
Meanwhile, we'll let you know that the 88 is in. Jim?
Well, a lot of cheerleading going on this 88 radio for Cole Witt. Raised the track bar in the last run. The car really got better. Cole says he needs a little help turning. He's too loose, but they'll fill that thing up with Sunoco Racing Fuel and pull away.
Johanna Long is in.
Something, guys, Johanna Long said on Friday this is the best car she's had in a long, long time. She's told they are killing them in the center. She's really fast in the center of the turn. It'll be a 4-tire stop for the 70 car. Shannon.
Sam Hornish Jr. is having a great run here today. Sunoco Fuel, they're going to try to wait on it as well, try to make it to the end. It is going to be a 4-tire change. They're also going to make some adjustments. You see that wrench in the back window. As he says, he is bouncing on the racetrack. Okay?
And with Sam pulling off, that means Drew Herring has taken over the race lead. He has yet to make a stop. So has Michael Annett, Brian Scott. So they've got to make pit stops yet. And there is Drew.
It looked like Johanna Long may have run a little bit deep in her box there. Marty slowed him down a little bit, but she's having a great run in spite of it. Here comes Drew Herring.
45 mile an hour. He's trying to get the car woed down by that line right there. And
that's very difficult. Listen, you're at speed. You come from the racetrack to the apron. It's dirty. You go from 4th to 3rd to 2nd gear to get your pit road speed.
And Alex Bowman is back in as well. Jim, we'll send it your way.
All right, here comes Drew Herring. He was really, really loose, but Drew thinks it's because of the wind. Actually thinks the car is going to be okay if this wind dies down, which is a big if. They're around to the right side. They'll fill this thing up with 2 cans of Sunoco Racing Fuel, and around to the left side, a 4-tire stop for Drew Herring, making his first nationwide start of the year. Mike.
After the last pit stop, Brian Scott said the pressures were too low. He couldn't run the same groove he was running. Consequently, he slapped the wall and has been tight ever since. A 2-tire change on the 11.
Now, what Mike's describing there is probably that with the low air pressures, the front splitter was hitting the racetrack. And as I said earlier in the race, it's awfully difficult to drive when you hit the front splitter. Shannon, what do you have on the 43?
Well, Michael Annett coming down pit road, or was already in his pit box rather. He's just been sliding the nose, but overall, pretty strong run. You see those guys on the left side, it's going to be a 4-tire change. They're also going to wait on fuel. You also see the wrench in the back window. That is a chassis adjustment.
And while all this is going on, we can tell you, remember Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was 26th. He has picked up 3 more positions. He's up to 23rd. You're looking at Austin Dillon because he is now the race leader. And so as he continues to motor around this track, as Austin Dillon looking to close the points gap, as he's trying to take advantage of this situation. Let's check in on the calendar because we've got the AAA Texas NHRA Fall Nationals qualifying at 3 a.m. Sunday morning on ESPN2. And then the final eliminations at 8:30 Eastern tomorrow on ESPN2 as well. And, of course, race chase number 2 as it's Sylvania 300 at New Hampshire, 1 o'clock Eastern tomorrow on ESPN. Our next stop is next Saturday at Dover on the Nationwide Series. It's on ESPN2 at 3 o'clock Eastern time. Austin Dillon is your race leader now by 2.9 seconds over the 2 of Elliott Sadler. He's trying to put Justin Allgaier a lap down. Allgaier right now is running in 10th position.
And obviously, Justin's not going to give it up without a fight. But I think it's a matter of time, Marty. This 3 car has come to life. 0.3 faster than what he had run 30 minutes ago. It's as though this 3 team and Austin Dillon have saved their best for last.
It clears the 31. And there is the 2 of Elliott Sadler. But there are issues involving the 2 car. Listen.
I don't even know if we'll last the rest of the race. What the hell is going on here? We're pretty sure it's just lost its steering fluid. It's just going to be manual steering for the rest of the race. Hang tough, baby.
Yeah, the most significant part of the equation for a driver as far as getting speed out of his car is being able to feel the race car from the seat of his pants and from his hands. Oh, we got a 14 car sliding across the infield here.
Eric McClure has spun it, going right through the part of the infield, and the sixth caution of the day is now out with 40 laps to go. Well, we've got a quick moment. That looks like
18 is staying out.
Problems. Jim, what do you got back there with the 54?
Guys, we're here in the garage with Kurt Busch, and as you can see, extensive repairs on the 54. Mike Massaro was spot on. It was a rear gear that seized up, causing all this damage. They drained all the fluid out of the system. In fact, there's a ton of smoke here in the garage, as you can see, and it could be a long while before Kurt Busch gets back out, if indeed he does.
So another tough break for the 54 bunch, and I wouldn't want to be picking that up right now.
No, that thing is melted down. And finish my thoughts on Elliott Sadler. When you lose that feel in the steering wheel, it's going to cost you 2 or 3 tenths because you can no longer run that car right on the edge.
Well, the other thing is if he loses all that power steering and it becomes manual, it is like turning the ignition off on your car and try turning it.
Under caution, yes, and it will be difficult getting on and off pit road if you had to. But Marty, at 180 miles an hour, it still drives pretty good. What really is difficult is when it goes in and out. Because imagine, when it goes out, you put more force on the steering. And then if the power steering comes back, it's going to snap you to the left or right. He's compromised. It is very difficult, and it's going to be very difficult for him to go fast under those circumstances. That's why he's hitting pit road.
And Austin Dillon made a move as if he was going to come down pit road, did not, and the 2 is the only taker so far. And Mike, we'll send it your way.
And it seems as though Elliott may have been taken a little bit by surprise. They were waiting on the cues from the 3 car. The 3 car, as you can tell, did not come down pit road. Luke Lambert calling for a 2-tire change on the 2 car. He's away.
2 other cars came in, including Ryan Blaney and Brad Sweet. They were both running on the lead lap as well. It's not going to hurt them too badly. There's only a total of 10 cars on the lead lap. Justin Allgaier gets the free pass. That puts him back on that lead lap. Just as we come back to Kentucky Speedway, the 2 of Elliott Sadler clears Cole Witt, and that actually moves Sadler into the 5th position. Drew Herring had gotten around during the break, and he is now 4th. Brendan Gaughan is 3rd. Sam Hornish is 2nd. And Austin Dillon is the man on point that everybody is chasing with 21 laps to go.
Yeah, that was a power move, actually. Elliott drove into the corner, one of the typical slide job, right, where you say, I'm going to take this spot. I'm going to carry so much speed into the corner that he better surrender it because you've got no choice but to slide up. Elliott wasting no time knowing there's only 21 laps to go.
You can see the shadows getting long, especially down the front straightaway, down through turn 1 and 2. There's your race leader on the backstretch. Austin Dillon, the 22-year-old, has a 1.3-second lead over Sam Hornish Jr., doing exactly what he needed to do today and getting a little help from Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Sam, right now he'd be about 46 points behind in the chase for the Nationwide Championship. Still in 4th place, but he's running a very good race. And there's only one more spot he can get, and he's got to get past Dillon to do it. Brendan Gaughan, part-time ride in this 33 car. Mentioned that his career best in the series is 2nd. He finds himself running 3rd right now and almost 3 seconds behind the leader.
Yeah, Brendan was fired up before the race. Gosh, he couldn't wait for this thing to start. Felt like he had something for him, and he's certainly backed it up.
Talk about somebody who backed it up. Drew Herring got turned around, went through the grass, came out unscathed, and he is now running in 4th place. And this is the only time he has been in this car and scheduled to be in this car this year. This is a great run.
It is a great run. And he said earlier in the week that Joey Logano coached him all week long. He said he talked to him for 30 minutes, didn't say a word, just listened. He obviously listened well. And Joey, if you're watching, and I'm sure you are, you did a great job.
In 5th position, Elliott Sadler. If he holds there, he will be the points leader again after surrendering it last weekend at Chicagoland. In 6th place, Cole Witt, who's been trying to get his season turned around. He's had a few good runs in the last few races, a few hiccups along the way as well. And how about Michael Annett running right behind him there? That is for 6th and 7th on the racetrack.
And Cole Witt definitely needs to finish the job. He's had a tough year. I thought he looked strong early in the season, but he struggled. Really, 4th place was his best finish so far this year, Marty. He's got a chance to challenge that.
Yes, 4th at the Talladega was his best. Let's get more from Jim Noble.
Well, I'll tell you what, Cole Witt, it's been an interesting afternoon for Cole. He's really good on the long runs, but he may be running out of time in this one. And he got a little encouragement from his spotter a few laps ago.
Just like that, driving like it mattered. I'm coming back to you.
Never seen Cole Witt mad, so it's hard to tell what his mindset is right now, but he certainly had a good run here this afternoon.
Yeah, but if they keep rubbing against each other, I bet we see him mad.
Yeah, they might both be on their way to the infield care center because they may take each other out. Cole was also 4th at Daytona at the first race of the year and at Michigan. And right now he has opened up the ground now over Michael Annett.
Boy, not far behind these two, you see Ricky Stenhouse Jr. driving a wreck. It's amazing he can go as fast as he is with this thing. But hey, he's got to take some of the responsibility.
And as we pointed out, he has fought his way back from a low of 26th. He is still 3 laps down, but he is running in 17th position. And he finds himself, instead of 23 points behind, he would leave this track right now 4 markers to the negative side.
That'd be a hollow victory, but trust me, you know, on the surface it doesn't sound like a great finish, 17th, but under the circumstances, this is a pretty good rally back.
Justin Allgaier is next on the hit parade. He's running in the 8th position, about 11 seconds back. Remember, at one point he was a couple of laps down, fought his way back, got a lucky dog. Now finds himself running in the 7th position, or 8th position, I should say, just ahead of Brad Sweet by about 2.5, 3 seconds.
Yeah, Marty, I think he's overachieved. I know it's 8th place finish. It doesn't sound great, but I've watched this car closely, and it's been ugly. Right there's another example of it. The car has not been underneath him through the middle of the corner. That's where all the speed is. Anytime you have to slow down a car because it's out of balance, out of shape, you lose all that speed off the corner.
So as we drop back, we'll catch up with the 38, Brad Sweet, the 26-year-old from Grass Valley, California. He is running in the 9th position, about 15 seconds behind the race lead. His best run was earlier this year, 6th at Fontana. Last week he was 15th at Chicago.
Quietly put himself in a position for a top 10 here. This is really a great job, and this is something that you can build on. You want to be able to finish the job here, take it home, so you can bank on it. Jim, you got anything on the 38?
You know, Ricky, the thing that's made the biggest difference for Brad Sweet today is about 40 laps into the race, he was told to back up his entry. Don't overdrive the corner here. Once he did that, it's like a light went on, and his lap times got about 0.4 of a second faster, and he's kept that momentum through most of this race here today.
The hardest thing in the world to teach a young driver is to back up the corner. What it means is to decelerate sooner. What it allows you to do is rotate the car and get back to the accelerator earlier. It seems like you're going slower, but in effect, you're going faster because you get back to the accelerator sooner, build RPM, and you carry all that speed down the straightaway.
Another one of the young guns having a great run. The last car on the lead lap, 10th place, Ryan Blaney. An 18-year-old. Man, he just continues to be impressive.
He is, and he's impressive to listen to. He understands the car very well. His crew chief said that what he doesn't get credit for are the intangibles, the things that you really can't teach a driver, things that you have to learn yourself. He's been a study, an understudy, I guess, for years with his dad, and his dad was rock solid when I raced against him, still is. Dave Blaney would be a great coach.
When I saw him earlier today, he said, I remember watching you covering my dad when he was running sprints and midgets. I said, thanks, you just made me feel real old. There's your race leader, Austin Dillon. He's got a 1.3 second lead over Sam Hornish Jr. And he just turned the fastest lap of that last lap of the group. So he is still running the quickest laps. And everybody else is playing catch up.
Giving her all she's got. You can catch him, man. Keep your focus. Keep your focus.
Well, based on the numbers, he can't catch him. He's about 1/10 of a second slower now this next lap by. Let's see. Again, he ran 100th quicker than Austin on that last lap. So that's not enough.
No, it's not enough. And what happens is when you try to make a run at a driver late in the race like this with just a few laps to go, and you have a tendency to do the opposite of what I described a few minutes ago. You charge the corner. You carry a lot of speed in the corner, which requires you to use more steering wheel. That builds the pressure in the right front. You can get away with it for a short time. But after 3 or 4 laps, it'll change the balance of the car. This is sort of like, I wouldn't qualify it as a Hail Mary, but this is definitely 3rd down and long. And he's airing it up. Let's watch his hands here. You can see he's a little tight. You know, he's trying to get the front to grab. Haven't seen him turn back to the right yet. Takes a look in the mirror on the exit of the corner. Lets the car turn into the turn 1. Again.
That last lap, though, he was 4/10 of a second slower.
He is hunting. Austin Dillon is being hunted. I favor Dillon because Austin described how he runs this track to me, and when you're out front, based on how he described his footwork, it's going to be hard to beat him. 5 laps to go.
There are 3 cars 1 lap down. Brian Scott in 11th, Johanna Long in 12th, and James Busher in 13th. That's right, Johanna having a very strong run today in that number 70 ride.
I really enjoy watching her because I can see the progress. It seems like race to race. You can see the battle right in front of her. Ryan Blaney got up with Brad Sweet.
There's Brian Scott. We mentioned the fact he is in the lucky dog position in 11th position, 1 lap down. But you're right, that battle between the 38 and the 22 is for position. That's for 9th on the racetrack. Sweet has it. Blaney wants it.
Boy, it's getting tight here on the exit. Oh, it's almost as though Brad wasn't quite sure he was there. And a driver will just give you a little nudge, say, I'm here, you better lift. Ryan Blaney handled that like a 40-year-old. That was pretty cool.
Whoa, and he twitches, and here's those guys continue, and that battle continues. The laps are winding down. There'll be 2 next time by as they continue to battle. There is the race leader, Austin Dillon, and there is Richard Childress on top of the hauler.
You and I got to talk with Richard yesterday. I said to Richard, tell me, what is a perfect day for you? And he said, you know what? I used to be hunting, fishing. Now it's just spending a day with my grandchildren. And that's what he's doing.
That's Ty Dillon. Drove in the truck race last night, and Ty right alongside. And Pop, as they call him, as this time by, here comes the white flag as 1 more lap to go. This is going to be a nice birthday present, because Richard had his birthday yesterday, and he said, I'm holding it 29, guys. That's all I'm admitting to.
I'll tell you what, I can't keep up with him.
Well, right now, nobody can keep up with grandson, Austin Dillon, as Austin has won here back in June, leading all but 8 laps. Today, he's going to lead a total of 65, including the most important one. We're in Kentucky. Down the stretch he comes.
Boys, for all your hard work. Burn that thing down, brother. Burn it down.
Burn it down. His 2nd win, both of them here at Kentucky. Does that remind you of a guy by the name of Stenhouse at Iowa?
Yeah, this is impressive. I really appreciate what he did here today because he was so fast in qualifying, separated himself from the field, or 2nd place by over 3/10, and then it was more strategic. Kick up a little mud in the spirit of the Kentucky Derby, right?
Yeah, let's talk to Danny Stockman. How about it, Shannon?
So you mentioned how it's Richard Childress' birthday yesterday. I saw the cake inside your hauler. I think this is probably a little bit better of a birthday present for Boss Man. How do you guys figured out this racetrack, you and Austin, so well?
Well, first off, before I forget, happy birthday to Mom and Dad at home. Happy birthday to Richard Childress.
And I'm going to tell you today, it wasn't easy. We had to work on this thing and work on it and work on it and work on it. And finally, by the end, I think we got the balance close. And it's just fun. We love coming to Kentucky. We should have won a couple truck races here and never got to. And shoot, we won 2 here this year. So just happy to be a part of it.
We'll see you in Victory Lane.
Thank you very much.
Guys?
The 63rd career win for Richard Childress Racing. And there is Austin Dillon as he has burned it down, as the boys wanted him to. That might make the competition for this week's burnout on NASCAR now. Look at that. That's a great shot. All right, we'll talk to the winner when we come back here to Kentucky Speedway.
Sunday night.
Well, Carl Edwards has the backflip, and I guess we could call that the swan dive. I don't know. We've got to get a name for it, but that's Austin's move as he celebrates victory here at Kentucky Speedway for the 2nd time. He's made it to Victory Lane. There he is. Let's talk to him.
Austin Dillon drives to Victory Lane here at the Kentucky Speedway. What does that sound like? You swept the Kentucky Speedway this season.
I tell you what, this one wasn't easy. There was a lot of good cars here. I think all the rough bumps here at Kentucky hit me a bloody nose halfway through that race. I was bleeding like crazy and finally dried up. And you know, these guys built an awesome race car, and we bought the same car back. We adjusted on it, and I really got on pit road good and got off pit road good, and that got us a lead. And just, man, it's all about drive. How bad do you want it? And we really want this championship right now.
It's all about how bad you want it, but you also have to figure this track out. You told me in the hauler that it's just a track that suits your style. What does that mean?
I don't know. I mean, I've ran dirt a lot and just driving through the bumps and stuff, and I've hit my line every lap, just try and make sure I get in the middle. There's a little crease I find in 3 and 4, and then 1 and 2 is just all about momentum.
All right, congratulations, Austin Dillon, celebrating with his pop-up here in Victory Lane at Kentucky.
All right, thank you, Shannon. The tie is there as well on the left side.
That's the ultimate birthday present for Richard, isn't it?
It certainly is. Take a look at the point standings because, boy, we have had another big shift. And for the 2nd week in a row, a change at the top. Elliott Sadler back on top by 4. At one point, it could have been 23. And 19 now separates Austin Dillon from the top spot. Mike Massaro has caught up with the, once again, points leader.
Yeah, the once again championship leader. We'll get to that in a moment. But first, the race. He had a dominant race car today, led 93 laps, but couldn't put it in Victory Lane. I know that doesn't sit well with you. What was the difference today?
We lost our power steering. We had them killed, man. We struggled yesterday, and you know, it's all about teamwork. Austin Dillon and his guys did some testing this week, learned some things. We really fed off Ernie Cope and his guys yesterday because they were really good. We put the total package together, and nobody could touch us today. We were so freaking fast. And then about 10 laps to go before that last green flag pit stop with 50 laps to go, I lost power steering, and it was really locking up on me, and I couldn't correct the car, so I really had to drive it safe and straight into the corner. You know, it's hard to keep up that way, but proud of my guys. This one main financial car. Got the points lead back, and we'll head on to Dover.
Yeah, that points lead making you feel a little bit better?
It is, but we could have. I want to go to Victory Lane here because we struggled so much the first race here, struggled so much here yesterday, and it's harder work as my guys put in last night and this morning. Been cool to reward those guys with the victory, especially as fast as we were. And it was, I'm proud of them to have a car. From where we were yesterday, what we did today, this team can accomplish anything. It was a lot of fun, the things that we've learned, and we feel like we're fired up and set up for the last 6 races.
Let's head on over to Jim Noble.
All right, guys, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. knows the numbers, trust me. It happened on pit road. I don't know what you do when you just had to kind of deal with it the rest of the way.
Yeah, our first mistake was on pit road. 14 came in there and knocked the right front end and got us back in the pack, and then they don't handle very well, and I got loose and got in the wall and cut her tire down. Just one thing after another, but we rebounded back to a 17th place finish. Just got to thank Cargill Beef, NOS Energy Drink, Nationwide Insurance. Series fun to race in, just made too many mistakes today. We'll make it back up, though, no problem. We got a strong team. Mike Kelly and the guys are doing an awesome job. We still had one of the fastest cars there at the end after fixing it, so we'll go get them next weekend.
And that'll take place at Dover, guys.
And we talked at the beginning of the broadcast of how important qualifying is. For the 5th time in the last 6 races, the pole sitter has won here at Kentucky Speedway. And the celebration continues. There's the trophy. And Austin Dillon owns Kentucky in the nationwide. Let's check in on the calendar one last time before we get out of here. AAA Texas NHRA Fall Nationals. We've got qualifying for you at 3 a.m. Sunday on ESPN2. And then final eliminations. That's 8:30 Eastern time tomorrow on ESPN2 as well. And, of course, 1 o'clock Eastern tomorrow on ESPN. It's the Sylvania 300 Chase Race number 2. That's coming from New Hampshire. And our next stop, next Saturday, 3 o'clock Eastern on ESPN2. The NASCAR Nationwide Series will be racing at Dover. Only 10 cars finished on the lead lap, so we'll show you all 10 of those. As it leads off, of course, with Austin Dillon, all the way down with Brendan Gaughan, Drew Herring, a nice run, and through Brad Sweet in 10th place. Sam Hornish came in second. He's got himself still in the hunt, but he's still got a long way to go. How about it, Mike?
Run for Sam Hornish, no question about it, bringing home second. How would you assess the afternoon?
It got better as we went along. Started off today, the Line Struck Park Side Challenger was really, really free and kind of built for air the longer that we ran. But Chad Walter and Brian Campy, the guys on the box, made good calls, got our car tightened up a little bit. We didn't really get it tight until like the last run, so we were able to kind of move forward from about lap 100 on, and was real happy with that, and just real thankful that things went as well as they did. We gained a couple points. Looking forward to going up to Loudon tomorrow and running the Cup car up there, and just real thankful for Nationwide Insurance for having this series, and all of our sponsors, Worth Group as well, and I'm pretty pumped up about it. Can't wait to get through tomorrow, get home, see the wife and kids, and miss you guys, but we'll get on with it, and hopefully we'll have a good day tomorrow.
I know you're busy, so we're going to let Sam go all the way to New Hampshire. Meanwhile, we're going to go over to Jim Noble.
All right, I'm here with Danica Patrick, finishing on the lead lap in 14th place. Take us through your afternoon here in Kentucky.
I wish I was on the lead lap, but I wasn't. That's okay, but I finished 14th. It was, I just started off the race pretty loose. We were a little loose in qualifying, and so I just can't change it too much. So we take big swings at the beginning, but it just took quite a few, couple of stops to get it okay, and then it was okay. But we were just down by then, and kind of the one thing that definitely threw us off a little bit was the grill got covered, and I was like 300 oil, 300 water, and it was about ready to blow. I think I felt like it was dipping in speed, and so we had to make a stop like 15 laps early, and that kind of, just put us down a little bit. So it's a bummer. I was hoping for a good day in the GoDaddy car, but unfortunately it was much more of a just survive it and finish.
Thanks for your time. Danica Patrick.
And we should also point out Johanna Long finished 12th, just one lap down. She matches her career best. So there is the burnout. In fact, they actually got the rubber on fire on the pit road there. Let them up. Stay with us. 6 races remain on the Nationwide Series, and we'll be on our way to Dover next week on the mile, and then on to Charlotte, Kansas with that newly repaved surface, Texas, Phoenix, and finish it out at Homestead Miami Speedway. Hope to see you at one of those last 6 events. Let's check in with Jim Noble. He's caught up with Justin Allgaier.
Well, I certainly have, Marty. Justin Allgaier bringing it home 8th. You mowed a few lawns out there. There was grass all over your grill. What was going on? Because I know it affected your temperatures and later on how the car was handling.
Yeah, we not really sure. The winds were pretty high here today at Kentucky, and a lot of stuff flying around the racetrack. I think one of the early incidents, somebody went through the grass and got grass all over our grill, and the temperatures went way up, and Jimmy made the call to bring us down pit road. And ultimately, it just kind of got us off sequence and lost our track position. But can't say enough for Brant and Chevrolet and Nationwide Insurance, all the guys that back at Turner that work on these things. We had moments of greatness today in the race and felt like we were making steady gains. So we'll go back next week to Dover and hopefully not have any grass in the grill, because there's no grass anywhere in the infield, and have a good finish.
All right, moments of greatness and then a solid 8th place finish for Justin Allgaier. Mike?
And talk about a solid finish. How about 4th for Drew Herring, a career best? You don't usually drive these cars. How were you able to do that today?
Just good car, good personnel behind me. I can't thank Adam Stevens and all these guys enough. They busted their tail for 2 days straight. We had a really great race car. Started out kind of tight. unfortunately, we got spun down and get into 3 pretty early, and that put us behind. We had to start back in the back. But, man, this Sport Clips Toyota was on fire, and I really hate it. It was a great run, but I was kind of disappointed. I felt like we may have even had something for Austin if we could have got the track position back to get up there and race with him. But first time in a nationwide car in 13 months, and only the second race I've run in anything in 13 months. So to be able to come out here with a top 5 against this kind of competition is huge. Just can't thank everybody at Joe Gibbs Racing and everybody that supports this deal and helps me to get to this point and to come out here and race.
Real nice run today.
Thank you.
Let's head on over to Shannon.
Well, one guy who's had a smile on his face for at least the last half hour, Richard Childress, watching your grandson go to victory lane. What is the difference between watching one of your drivers and watching your grandson win a race?
Well, I know how bad these two guys want to win it. Him and his brother, Ty, you know, and to watch him today, just the drive he had, his nose started bleeding. I don't know if it's the bumps or what, with about 40 or 50 to go, and he was just covered when he got out of the car. So that's just will and wanting to and going after it. So I'm really proud of him.
I know the championship is the main goal. You also have another car in the hunt. You know, last week we talked a lot about the radio communication, but as a team owner, what is it like to watch 2 of your guys battle it out?
It was great watching them race side by side. I know they're going to race each other hard, and that's what I expect out of them. I hate to see Elliott have a problem. He really had a good car today, and couldn't have been prouder of what him and Luke put together today. They did a great job. What can you say about Brandon Gaughan? He came in there and really did a great job.
Thanks, Richard. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
All right, Marty?
It was a very good day for Richard Childress Racing. And as far as the bloody nose, first time I guess any driver's been beat up by his own helmet bouncing over the bumps on the track.
Speaks to his toughness, though, doesn't it, Austin Dillon? I mean, he really powered through this thing today. And, you know, I'm sort of left with this. Who among these 3 or 4 drivers that have a chance is going to reach up and take this championship?
Well, we'll find out because we go to Dover next. Now, that's a mile, high banks. Who do you like there?
The Monster Mile.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that place will eat you up and chew you up and spit you out. But I think that Stenhouse goes back there with some redemption in mind, you know.
It'll be interesting.
He has the horsepower to do it.
Okay, make sure to tune in to ESPN tomorrow at 1 Eastern, the Sylvania 300 at New Hampshire. Coming up next, we've got ESPN College Football Primetime. It's presented by Hampton Hotels. We've got number 2 LSU versus Auburn. Congratulations to our winner, Austin Dillon. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Ricky Craven, Shannon Spake, Mike Massaro, Jim Noble, and our entire ESPN crew, I'm Marty Reed. Till we meet again.